I always wanted to serve on a jury.
I'm really super excited to be here, so I really appreciate you having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Creating this whole trial daddy.
I want to give a big shout out to the 13th Jury Podcast and Brandi.
Yeah, I applaud you guys. Keep doing what you're doing.
That every time you run into Phil Barber, you should reach for
it. And then I just looked to the jury, and it's sort of like, look.
I was in the eye of the storm, and you guys were watching the storm.
Hey, if you're bored of work, come pop in and say, hey, want some coffee?
You're a ray of sunshine, and I love what you've done with your YouTube channel.
Good morning. Good morning. Happy weekend. Happy weekend. I can't remember the last time I was live on a weekend. Good morning. Good morning. Come on in. Take your jury seats. This is not like a regular jury. We meet on weekends now. I'm so glad to see y'all. Hello, hello. I am really glad to be here. It has been a tough week. It has been a very tough week. So I'm glad that I get to see y'all on the weekend to catch up. So we got a lot to catch up on. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Wednesday was a short day. Friday was a really short day. So we're going to use today and tomorrow to get caught up and just go till we get tired today and then finish the rest tomorrow. So it'll be good. Case Carpetta, happy Saturday. So happy to see you. Happy to see you too. Happy 5 months. Happy 5 months. Happy 5 months. Oh, I'm glad to see y'all too. I appreciate Data Lisa. Is it your birthday today too? Happy birthday, Data Lisa. Happy birthday. Look, jury duty on a weekend is your birthday present. There you go. Happy birthday. Tori C. Lady, we've missed you. You look great today. Thank you. I have missed y'all too, and I feel okay today. It's been a tough week. It has been a tough week. So today I've slept so much the last few days, and today I slept in until about 8:30 ish. Of course, I also went to bed about 8:30 ish. So I've been sleeping a lot, but not having treatment today has kind of has helped. So I have a little bit more pep in my step today. So we are going to get caught up, see how it goes. I'm excited to be here. Betsy, member for 2 whole months. I'm going to change. I'm going to see if I can put my earphones in. Well, let's see. Let's see if I can do this instead so that I've become like overly sensitive to my headphones the last.
It was some model of Porsche.
Okay, they're working. All right, good. We're getting it done. All right, making sure it's real. So I am very happy to see. Look, y'all can see. I rolled out of bed. I'm still in pajamas. Bedhead. Lucy has bedhead. Say hi to your friends. Say hi to your friends. She has loved this whole, us staying in bed all the time thing. By the time I get home from treatment, she's freaking out because I've been gone for a few hours. And then we get in bed and snuggle, and it's like her favorite thing in the world. So she misses y'all too, but man, she loves the fact that we just snuggle and sleep all day. She's loving it. So, and she got extra treats this morning because she's a good girl. She's a good girl. Look at that face. How could you not love that face? Your friends missed you. Your friends missed you. They love you. They love you so much. Bug Dugger, thank you. Member for 8 whole months. Brandi, you're a strong woman. Hi, Lucy. Hi, Lucy. She said hi. Bug Dugger said hi. Say hi to your friends. Say hi. Say hi. I love this dog. Oh, man. She gets me through everything. Bug Dugger, 8 whole months. I am so glad you're here. So happy to have you. Happy anniversary. It's going to be a good day. Okay, so we started out. You want to lay in your bed? You want to lay in your bed? You can lay in your bed. We started out the other day, Wednesday, before I had to end the stream. We started out on day 14 in the morning. We didn't make it very far. I think we made it through about half an hour of speed trialing before I had to end the stream. So it was a shorter day on Wednesday. And then yesterday was a really short day. They ended, they didn't even make it to lunchtime yesterday before they ended. So we don't have too much. If there's going to be a week for me to have a really tough week, this is definitely a good one because we don't have too much catching up to do. I will tell you, like, we're going to pick up where we left off on Wednesday before I got sick. But I will tell you this. I can't right now give you a set time. Unfortunately, the way that this has been affecting me has been kind of like we're going to have to kind of play it by ear. I would like to, stream during the week when we can. But also on the days when we can't, we'll have to catch up. I know that that's not ideal. But I also, I have to do what I can only do what I can do. So, the weekends, we can use to catch up some on the, for the days that I'm not able to do it during the week. So, I've got 3 weeks down and 5 to go. So for the next 5 weeks, we're just going to have to kind of play it by ear and, go day by day and see what we're able to do on those days and then kind of take it from there. So I wish I could give y'all more consistency right now, but I just can't right now. Weezer, welcome. Happy Saturday. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you. I appreciate it. So much. All right. Are we ready? This is going to be, I can't tell you the last time we've been here on a weekend, so it's awesome. Palola's mom, thank you. Incoming Choo-choo. Thank you. I appreciate it. Let me get Lucy's little cameras. Look at that ponytail. Oh, goodness gracious. Thank you, Palola's mom. I appreciate it so much. All right. Are we ready to get this show on the road?
With respect to I want to draw your attention to a time that you searched 585 Deer Cliff Road. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Particularly inside the garage of Deer Cliff Road. There was a vehicle inside that garage. Do you recall what vehicle that was?
Yes, it was some model of Porsche.
With respect to the inside of that vehicle, did it contain seats?
Not in the front. I remember the front seats were missing.
The seats that were in the Toyota Tacoma that day, what were they?
They were leather seats from a Porsche.
Leather seats from a Porsche. Remember, that's the Porsche that's...
Your Honor, the state's going off states 93. Detective Riley, I'm going to draw your attention to the screen in front of you. Is that on?
Yes.
If you could take a look, please.
I might be able to speed this up somewhat. May I have a moment with counsel?
Good.
Yes, and actually this one's not on.
Since we're not doing it live, we get to do the words. What are the words?
Okay.
Closed caption. Twisted branches. Oh, thank you for the
Your Honor, I'll just note, I'm going to agree to, there are only a couple of pictures that I have anything to say about, so we might be able to move this faster.
I actually might need a moment, Your Honor. The disc I marked actually wasn't finished burning, so it actually doesn't have all the disc on it. So I might need one moment to run downstairs and get the correct disc out of my office. So if I can have that moment.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be with y'all.
I gave it to him. Yes. Maybe that's all. Oh, he might have it. I think that's the...
Twisted branches. Feel free to come out for that. Put it just there for me.
Try and try. As long as they move.
If I can, Your Honor, I gave counsel a copy. Let's see if that one works as well.
Nancy D, thank you. So happy to see you as well. Feel better. We miss you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I miss y'all too. I do miss, like, it's been hard to not see y'all the last 3 days. Because I've slept most of the time, but so.
Yep, this one has it. Okay. If I can, Your Honor, I'll go off the one I gave counsel, and Attorney Moran will make a copy for counsel. Thank you. Your Honor, with respect to the
Betsy, thank you.
pictures, I believe if I may just approach the clerk and provide it.
Thank you.
This would be a... Your Honor, there are 26 photographs contained in States 90. I believe we have an agreement all except for 9 and 13. So when we get to those points, I will attempt to authenticate them for the court. But if that's okay with counsel, I'd like to just jump in.
So States 90 admitted as full except for photos 9 and 13.
Yes.
Virginia Little, thank you. For
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
I'm sorry about your broken ankle. But at least you can be here. We can be here with you.
Hey, Detective Riley, if you could take a look at the screen behind you. Do you recognize what's depicted on that screen?
Yes, I do.
What is depicted?
That is the front end of the Toyota Tacoma that we processed on June the 11th and at Shrewpel in Litchfield.
If you wouldn't mind stepping up near the screen, sir. The front of the car, or the truck on the bottom here, what is this?
That appeared to me to be a mount for a snowplow.
And it looks like liquid or something on the bottom. What is that?
That looks like some sort of oil on a garage floor.
Did that come from the Toyota?
I can't say for sure, ma'am. I don't remember.
Okay. And with respect to the license plate here, 6617CN, was it clean?
Yes.
And picture 2, sir. Down here, do you see the cursor at the bottom middle of the photograph?
Yes, that is what I described as a running board or step to help somebody get into the cab.
Could you describe the tires for me, please?
So the tires to me, I remember, looked in good condition, and they looked to be recently clean.
Picture 3. Sir, is this the same, I guess, running board or on this other side of the vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
And same thing with respect to the tires on this side, sir. If you could just describe them.
Yeah, that's kind of a better view of one of the tires. You can see the condition is pretty good. And not only the tires are clean, but also the rim itself.
You can't hear my mic.
And picture 4, please.
That is the back end of the Toyota Tacoma.
Is that better?
What's down here in the middle bottom part of the picture?
That's a trailer hitch, ma'am.
And this license plate, sir, was it clean as well?
Yes, it was.
Holly Mack, give to 5 membership.
Now, you could see the trunk of the vehicle. What is contained within that? And I'll show you picture 5.
Yes, that's the pickup truck bed, and these are the 2 other automotive car seats we found in the bed.
Where did you find them just like that?
Just like that.
And the one on the left, sir, has the, I guess, if you can just describe why it looks like that compared to the other.
So the seat cover on the seat had been removed, and the seizing investigators had advised the crime scene team that this is the condition in which the seats were obtained.
When they received it?
When they seized it. Correct.
Okay, you did not do that?
I did not.
And to your knowledge, no other state police officer did that?
No.
Okay. What did you do with these seats?
So these seats were removed and were also examined for any evidentiary value.
And what does that show, sir?
That's the underside of the seat that had the cover removed.
Now, with respect to the outside of the vehicle, did you take any swabbings or take any samples or anything from the exterior of the trunk?
From the outside of the vehicle, we took DNA swabbings from the front license plate screws in an effort to capture any latent DNA material that was there.
So I'm going to go back to picture 1, sir. If you could just point out on the screen where you took the swabbings.
Yes, from these 2 screws.
Why did you take those?
In an effort to, we learned that,
Objection.
Well, the question is,
Thank you, Tita.
for what reason was the DNA swab taken for latent prints from the screws?
Thank you, Dog Mom.
And the response began, we learned that. The court is going to sustain the objection.
How did you take the swabbings from the screws, sir?
So we took 2 of those long handle swabs that I mentioned before, moistened them with sterile water, and just swabbed the areas, and then we boxed and packaged those.
On that day, did you remove the license plate or remove the screws?
Not on the 11th.
Did you wear protective gear while you searched this car?
Yes.
What did you wear?
I wore a disposable gloves and a mask where necessary.
Did you take any swabbings from the door handles, all on the exterior of the vehicle?
No.
Why not?
The vehicle was relatively clean. If there was any linkage between this vehicle and our initial response, it's been 2 weeks since. So we didn't see a reason to.
When was the initial response again?
That was on the early morning of May 25th.
And what was the day that you processed this vehicle?
This is June the 11th.
Is that better?
Now, with respect to the interior of the vehicle, did you take any steps or take any swabbings of the interior of the vehicle?
Yes.
What did you do?
So we first visually inspected the inside of the vehicle for any trace material. We did find a blood-like stain kind of near the speaker grill of the left door. And we tested that with Castlemeyer reagents, got a positive result.
Again, I'm going to object to this Castlemeyer and any other reagent. We've been through this before. It's going to have no evidentiary value as the case continues, and therefore it's confusing and irrelevant.
Well, the case law does not state that there's no evidentiary value. The case law states that there's no evidentiary value by itself. But in concert with other evidence, it may have probative value, so overruled.
Sir, what was the area that you utilized the KM test for?
This area right down here. You can see the material we were interested in. After doing that, we took another evidentiary sample of that stain.
The KM test is just a presumptive test?
It's just a presumptive test.
Okay. And you took a sample. Can you just walk through the process of taking the sample of that test? Did you mark it as an exhibit?
We did. So using the same 2 swab technique, moistened with sterile water, we swabbed the stain, collected the stain onto the sample, or onto the swab, and then boxed and packaged it.
Did you take any other action with respect to this car door?
Yes, further on in the processing, at the later phase of processing, we processed the inside of the door along with the inside of the rest of the car with luminol.
And briefly, again, could you explain what luminol is and what you used it for?
Again, Your Honor, same objection about luminol.
Overruled.
We use it as a search tool for latent blood.
And how did you use it this day?
So after mixing up the luminol and testing it on a known blood source, we sprayed it onto the door and looked for areas that luminesced.
Did you do that here?
Yes.
Did you take any photographs with respect to the process and or the results?
The photographers on the team that they did.
Were you present for that photograph?
Yes, I was there.
And did you do that on June 11th?
Yes.
Actually gonna shut the screen off right now if I can, sir, and have you take a look at the screen in front of you at the seat. Show you actually what's been marked as states 9 and then states 10. Do you recognize what's depicted in states 9?
Yes.
What is depicted in states 9?
That is a picture taken during the processing with the luminol.
And is that what it looked like after you processed it with luminol?
Yes.
Is it a fair and accurate representation of what it looked like or what the results look like?
Yes.
State would offer 9. I would just, if I may, Your Honor, I know counsel indicated he had no objection for 10, but if I may ask a few questions on it prior to showing it to the jury. If I can,
So
Your Honor.
if 9 is offered?
9 is offered, but if I can just follow up with.
Hold on. Am I echoing now? I'm trying to because everybody said it was really quiet, so I tried to turn it up, and now I see it's echoing. Is it echoing now? I think I might just have to be quiet until I can mess with it a little bit. Lisa Dempsey, happy 9 months. We had a whole baby together. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Love you, Brandi. Lisa, we love you too. Thank you. Dynado 420, love you, Brandi, warrior woman. Hit that like, peeps. It's free. You could tip your mods for their hard work too. Yes, we have our mod tip jar up. Thank you for the super chat. Dynado, thank you.
For one moment, Your Honor.
So there's no objection to 9?
Yes, there is, Your Honor, but she hasn't offered it yet.
Oh.
I would offer it. I would just indicate counsel has had no objection to 10. However, if I may just inquire of Detective Riley, with respect to picture 10, what does 10 show?
That is a picture. It appears to be an overlay of the picture before, taken in the dark, overlaid with a picture taken under normal lighting.
So with respect to picture 10, are there the results of the luminol process conveyed on top of the picture of the door?
Yes.
Do you see the results of the luminol contained on picture 10 as well?
Yes, very faintly.
Okay, so picture 9 and 10 really are together. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I know counsel indicated he was okay with 10, but I do recognize it is in connection with the luminol, so I didn't want to show it. So I would offer both of those together.
I'd like to voir dire briefly on this.
Well, if there's an objection, for what reason is there voir dire?
Well, I want to clarify that. Well, it's to clarify why this should not be admissible.
Well, you can just make the objection.
Well, the objection is that, like I said before about the relevance, but more importantly, this was tested and it's not blood. So therefore, I'm saying it was sent to the lab and it is not blood. It wasn't even organic. So it's misleading. It's going to be confusing to the jury. And I've already indicated why I thought these kind of presumptive tests shouldn't come in at all. But this particular spray, the fact that it glowed, it was tested. It had nothing to do with the case. It wasn't organic. It wasn't blood. It was nothing. So therefore, putting it in is confusing. And it has nothing to do with the case. So it's not just that it is not relevant, but the jury is hearing this testimony about something that has nothing, that will prove to be completely irrelevant to the case.
So the first component of the argument is not relevant. The second component was essentially cross-examination. So on relevance, again, the code states that relevant evidence is evidence that has any tendency to show that a material fact is more likely or less likely to exist than it would be without that evidence. Any tendency.
Me neither,
And I note, Your Honor, that under Code 4-3, there would be either no or such a slight, and it has to deal with what the charges are against Ms. Troconis. And if, as I said, if it turns out, when we get to that point, that this was tested and it had no value, then it doesn't have even, in my view, a modicum of purpose other than confusing and has no bearing on the case. And therefore, I ask the court to exercise its discretion to not allow in these pictures. We've heard the testimony over objection, but the pictures have nothing to do with it. We have 500 pictures in already, and I submit that there is no probative value to the fact that there was a place on the vehicle that glowed, especially in light of the previous testimony Your Honor's heard about rust being one of those items, and there's other cleaning products and food and whatnot that also glows under a blue light. So,
well, as the court understands the case law, by itself the presumptive test has no probative value. However, the probative value can be determined under circumstances of the investigation, including the search and seizure of the truck and the reasons for the search and seizure of the truck. Case law states also color, the pattern, and other factors can be considered in determining whether a screening test is probative. So if there's that objection, relevance, that is overruled.
That would be 9 and 10, then, Your Honor.
9 and 10 admitted as full exhibits.
Thank you.
Judge is what? Look, that's whiskey. That's whiskey. He's definitely drinking whiskey.
actually
He's
gonna
over
go-
this defense attorney.
Start with 10, sir. If you can, take a look behind you. Actually, would you mind going back and standing next to the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you indicated previously you took a sample from around the speaker area. Is that depicted on this picture?
Yes, this is that area right there.
If I can, and did you mark it as an exhibit?
I did, exhibit 203.
Thank you. And with respect to this picture or this photograph of the door, did you utilize that luminol process on this door?
Yes,
And is the results shown on picture 10?
yes.
Okay, if you can, sir, could you direct the jury's attention to those results?
So the areas that are visible the most are darker areas here. You can see this bluish glow. You can see other areas of the luminescence down in this area.
To be clear, what did you utilize the luminol for again?
It was just a search tool that we used for an attempt to find latent blood.
Did you
Again,
also
just to check for the record, I don't need to expound on it. I just want the record to reflect my view.
Thank you.
Did you take further samples of that door?
Yes, I did.
What areas did you take samples of?
This area right in here, and again up on top in this general area.
Why did you take a sample up here on top?
Again, just based upon the results of the luminol test.
Thank you, Southern Mom.
So I'm going to direct your attention to photograph 9. What does that show?
Okay, that is a photograph taken during the processing with luminol, taken in the dark as we're you can see without the glare. You can see the side view mirror here, and go to the door to kind of give you reference, and then you can see the areas that are luminescent.
Okay. And I'm going to show you picture 8, please. Now, you indicated you took further samples. With respect to 205, sir.
Correct.
What did you do with that?
So this material here, we further field tested with the Castlemeyer reagents. We did not obtain a positive result with this. However, we nonetheless took evidentiary samples.
By samples, do you mean the same? Did you utilize the same process that you've been discussing, the
Correct.
swabbing?
The 2 swabs.
Okay. And 204?
Same process. We tested this area with Castlemeyer reagents, obtained a negative test, but still we obtained evidentiary samples with 2 swabs.
Picture 11, sir. What does that show?
That is those 2 seats from a Porsche that we found in the front of the pickup truck.
It's so crazy. The seats don't even look like they would go in
I guess
there.
11A.
Just another view of the front.
Obviously, different colors.
There's that plastic bucket that was propping up the driver's seat.
Was it attached in any way to the floorboard?
No, they were loose in the cab.
They weren't even attached to the floorboard?
Sir, I'm going to have you take a seat if you can. With respect to photographs 12 and 13, if you could take a look at them on. Sir, do you recognize what's depicted in photograph 12?
Yes, that's the interior side of the right door, or passenger side door.
Now, with respect to the interior side of the passenger door, did you take any samples?
Not initially. However, we processed this along with the rest of the interior of the truck with luminol.
Did you obtain a result?
We took an evidentiary sample from this door.
Did you utilize the same process with respect to the luminol that you discussed before? You sprayed it and mixed it?
Correct.
By the way, did you test the luminol prior to utilizing it that day?
On a known blood source, yes, ma'am.
Photograph 13?
That is taken during the luminol test.
Based on this result or this photograph, did you take any further samples of the right passenger door?
I took 1 evidentiary sample from this door.
Does photographs 12 and 13 in particular fairly inaccurately display what the car door looked like after the use of the luminol?
Yes.
State would offer it, Your Honor.
Just the same objection. I think my previous argument, I just incorporated the Moody case and the things that I said. Again, this will not establish and prove to be any blood, DNA, or anything relevant to this case.
Oh.
So.
Overruled.
I would move those pictures in, please.
Page 13 admitted as a full exhibit.
Thank you. Sir, photograph 12, what does that depict?
That is a picture of the the passenger side door, the interior side of the pickup truck.
By the way, sir, how would you describe the doors and the carpet and the interior of the vehicle?
It was very clean for an 18-year-old truck.
Photograph 13?
That was taken after processing the inside of the door with aluminum.
And photograph 14?
That is an area where we took an evidentiary sample from following the luminol test. We tested this prior with the Casamai reagents, and it, again, did not test positive for blood.
This one did not test positive as well?
It did not.
Did you still take an evidentiary swabbing?
Yes.
Photograph 15?
That's a view of the front passenger compartment as seen through the passenger side door.
Was that front seat passenger car seat attached to the floorboard at all?
No, it was not.
The same question as before, you could lift it off and take it out?
Yes,
Did you lift it off and take it out?
we did.
16, what does that show?
That's after we lifted up the seat and took it out. That's the rear, kind of that extended cab portion I was talking about with the two jump seats.
Thank you, Mary.
Did you also process the 2 seats that were on the truck or the truck bay?
Yes.
Photograph 17, sir. Draw your attention to 202. What does that mean?
So that doesn't mark anything specific. That just denotes that those 2 seats were designated as Exhibit 202.
Did you take any action with respect to these 2 seats?
Yes, we examined them for any kind of trace material, blow-like stains, such as that, and then we processed it again with the sprayed luminol.
Based on the spray of the luminol, did you take any swabbings?
Yes, we did.
Where?
So on the seat, may I point it out?
If you can, please.
So on this seat here, with the seat cover intact, we found an area of interest in this general area.
Photograph 18.
Correct. This was after spraying the luminol. Again, we identified the area by circling it in dark color Sharpie. We took a further swab of this area, tested it with Casamai reagent, obtained a positive result, and instead of actually swabbing the area, we cut the seat cover and seized that piece with the stain.
What
No,
area?
I have continuing objection, Your Honor. I don't want to keep interrupting. It's the same issue.
Thank you.
What area did you cut off?
This area right here,
Did you denote that as Exhibit 207?
that was seized as 207, correct?
Did you also, you could have a seat, sir. Thank you. Did you also conduct an inventory search as well?
Yes.
Photograph 19. What is reflected on that picture?
Again, that is the contents of the inside of the vehicle taken during the inventory portion of processing.
Was this in the left, the yellow bucket, was this the bucket that the seat was propped up against?
That is the bucket, correct?
Was anything contained inside the bucket?
I don't believe so, ma'am.
20. What does this show, sir?
That's the contents from the center console of the vehicle.
Did you take any further samples of the vehicle that day?
I did not.
Did you have an opportunity to conduct a second search of the Toyota Tacoma?
Yes.
What day?
So on June 26th, we consulted with investigators at Troop G Bridgeport, and we came up with a plan to seize the license plates, the screws, and send those for examination.
Going back to photograph 1, sir, are you talking about the license plates on the Toyota Tacoma,
Yes.
as well as the screws themselves?
Yes.
Previously, you had only taken swabbings of them. Did you seize the entire license plate itself?
Yes. So what we did is I unscrewed the license plate. We actually took swabbings from the threads of the screws in an effort to capture any kind of latent DNA. The screws and the plate were taken as one exhibit, the swabs as another. And then later, I processed the plate for latent fingerprints.
How did you process it for latent fingerprints?
So on July the 1st at our office at Troop L. Litchfield, I processed it with superglue fumes and dry powders.
Were you able to obtain any discernible fingerprints?
No, ma'am.
Was that with respect to the front license plate as well as the back license plate?
Yes, both plates were seized in the same manner and examined for prints in the same manner.
Did you conduct a search of the Toyota Tacoma on a third day?
Yes.
When was that?
That was on August 27th.
What was the purpose of that search?
We were assigned by my supervisor to go in and seize the entire door panel from the passenger side door, as well as cut out the carpet from the front passenger area of the vehicle.
Did you do that?
Yes, I did.
Show you 21. What does that show, sir?
That's the area following processing after we removed the door panel and the carpet.
Photograph 22.
That was taken prior to packaging. That's the interior door panel that we seize as Exhibit 363.
And photograph 23.
Again, that's after we had removed the carpet.
Now, sir, I'm going to draw your attention back to May 25th, 2019. I believe you testified you went to Lapham Road that day.
Yes,
Ed, did you take the photographs of the Chevy Suburban?
I did.
If I may just have one moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
This is Detective Riley again. He's been here
Do you
before.
remember, let me show you what's been marked as picture 24. Do you remember the photograph behind you?
Yes.
Or the map, I should say?
Yes, ma'am.
If you could please stand up and point to where you found that vehicle.
We found that Chevy Suburban in this general area here.
Which direction was the vehicle facing?
The vehicle was facing south towards the Merritt Parkway.
Photograph 25, is that the vehicle in question?
Yes, ma'am.
And photograph 26.
Yes, so here is the southbound lane. There's a bridge over the Merritt, and you can see the vehicle's parked in kind of like a little dirt pull-out off of the southbound shoulder.
On May 25th, did you walk that area where the vehicle is parked?
This general area here, yes.
Okay. Are there different cutouts along that side of Lapham Road?
Yes. They appear to me to be used for Waveney Park, parking for Waveney Park.
Which side of the street was Waveney Park?
It'll be off of the left-hand side of the frame.
Where this vehicle is parked in this is photograph 26, is there a cutout or a place for another vehicle to park in front of that vehicle?
Yes.
Is there a cutoff and a place for a vehicle to park behind that vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. I can, sir.
Have you 5
Your Honor,
minutes,
at this
Melanie?
point, the state's intention is to play 89, which is the school bus video. I would make the same request I made yesterday with respect to the cameras.
Thank you. The school bus video, essentially, there are a few cameras on the school bus. Some are external cameras, some are interior cameras. With the interior cameras, the images of children are captured, and those children can be readily.
Okay, we know this part. They're not going to let us see the
Is that-
videos because of the kids. And we saw this video already. Well,
Of the
they saw this
cameras,
video
An
already.
area that you were at on May 20th, Suburban, and this vehicle, what direction are they in relation to each other?
What's the heavy 4 months?
They would be facing each other. So this red-colored vehicle is facing northbound, and the Chevy Suburban was facing southbound.
Were they parked in the same cutoff?
No, ma'am.
Thank you, Ian. Glad to be here.
Do you see or could you recognize on this little clip the cutoff that the Chevy Suburban was on?
No, not specifically, ma'am. It would have been far.
Okay, so they showed that video yesterday as in the day before this day, remember? The school bus thing. So they're saying that the Tacoma was facing one way and the Suburban was facing the other way, like showing that they came from the separate directions or whatever.
farther north.
Okay. Within that same area?
Correct, the same general area.
So if the Chevy Suburban was facing the Merritt Parkway, would that
Happy
red
anniversary, Nikki.
truck be in front of it or behind it?
Yeah, I'm going to object. The witness wasn't there, didn't see it.
Good counsel.
Speculation.
Counsel speculation.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Thank you.
This is probably an appropriate time to take the morning recess. We will take the morning recess until 11:30. Ladies and gentlemen, please do not discuss the case.
Moving right along. Happy anniversary, Nikki.
morning again, Mr. Riley.
Good morning, sir.
And since our break, you're still retired?
Still retired, sir.
Let me start by asking you about the Tacoma truck, okay? The first time you saw that truck was at the state police headquarters in Litchfield, correct?
That's correct.
It was in a bay, or was it out in a parking lot?
That was in a bay, sir.
You went there and someone else was taking pictures, or were those pictures we saw already taken when you were there?
Those pictures were taken as part of the processing by the team I was on.
All right, well, let me ask you about a couple of them. Let's start with number 1.
This guy. Ugh. Ah.
All right, and the license plate that was on this vehicle here, is this the picture that you removed the plates from?
No, they were removed on a later date.
Did you do the removing, though?
Yes.
So if I zoom in a little closer on the license plate, this is a combination plate, right? It's got it's got some numbers, and it's got the letter CN, and then the word COMB, or at least the letter COMB down the side, right?
Yes.
And for the benefit of those that don't know what that means, a combination plate is specific for a person who uses a vehicle both in combination as a personal vehicle and as a commercial business vehicle, correct?
Correct.
And it's a different color than your average passenger vehicle, correct?
It used to be.
Yeah, so it was bright white that we see here, right?
I think it was a standard Connecticut color license plate.
You think it's a standard license plate? It's not the different darker blue as seen in this video, in this exhibit here, number 1?
No, I think the flash just kind of whited out the license plate there, sir.
Okay, but in any event, all combination plates ended with CN and had those words COMB, or issued by the Department of Motor Vehicles of Connecticut, right?
Not necessarily, sir. They do have the COMB. Usually, they have some sort of C in the license plate, but the letters differ. There could be vanity combination plates, such things as that.
Let me ask it a different way. Was this a legal license plate on this vehicle at that time?
Objection.
Objection.
Well, the question is, was this a legal license plate? That question is beyond the scope of the direct.
Sustained.
Let me show you exhibit 4.
We never know. He just takes us on these whack-a-mole journeys. They having technical
This
difficulties?
was just burned, this disc, and so I don't know if there's an issue with it. Let me just try myself here one more time. It opened eventually, I'm sorry.
He's going to want a DMV expert.
In any event, this is the rear license plate of the same vehicle that you observed when you were taking swabs and whatnot?
Yes.
Is that the license plate that was removed from this vehicle later on?
Yes, it was.
Did you do the actual removing of the license plate?
Yes.
So if I zoom in again on this, we talked about the screws. If we can just zoom in a little more on the plate itself. I don't have my usual AV person, so. There weren't 4 bolts, were there?
Not present, no.
There were 2 bolts on the top, as I understand it, correct?
Yes.
Is that also true in the front? We can go back to that picture, but is that also true?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And I want to show you now photo 3.
That's kind of quick. There you go.
Oh, good. Right. If you would just zoom in on the front portion of the vehicle. All right. You see that there's some drips on the ground below this vehicle? You see that?
Yes, sir.
You observed that was actually dripping from this Tacoma, isn't that right?
I don't remember an oil leak, sir.
You don't recall that the truck was in fact leaking oil and or steering fluid at the time?
Objection.
Well, the testimony on direct examination, as the court recalls it, was that this witness did not know whether the oil leaked from the vehicle, but did testify that there was oil on the garage floor. So, again, this witness, as the court recalls, it did not testify that the oil leaked from this vehicle.
And that's why I'm asking him the question, whether it was leaking from this vehicle.
This attorney.
Well, the court's going to allow that question, was the oil leaking from this vehicle? That involves this witness's personal perception at the time.
I don't remember, sir.
Okay. You were a participant, though, in having this vehicle literally stripped down, right?
Yes.
And did you look under the vehicle as well?
I did not.
Do you recall it being at one point while you were there up on a hoist?
No.
So you were just looking at it as it was sitting there on the garage bay floor, right?
Yes.
Did do you recall that there were oil drips on the ground as you stood there on the side of the vehicle? Below.
I can see them in the photo, yes.
Do you recall that at the time?
I didn't make note of it, sir.
You did not?
No.
Okay. So I also want to ask you a couple of questions about the what was in the flatbed of this pickup truck. Could you go to pictures 5 and then 6? Sorry, 5. You testified that these seats were in the back of the truck when you arrived at the Litchfield Barracks to look at the truck, correct?
Yes.
But you know they weren't, that's not where your colleagues found them, right?
That's what I was told, yes.
You were told that somebody put, one of the police colleagues of yours put them in the truck, correct?
Yes.
You didn't do that yourself. So the fact that there's pictures of these seats in the back of the truck wasn't necessarily how they were found, right?
This is just how I found them.
Okay. And it wasn't how the truck was found when it was seized, right?
That I don't know, sir.
Do you remember when this truck was taken by the state police?
No, sir.
It was taken from Mr. Gumieni, correct?
Objection.
Well, the question was, do you remember when this truck was taken by the state police? The answer, no. And the next question, it was taken from Mr. Gumieni. Well, the witness has testified that he does not know when it was taken. The question now is from whom it was taken. But, well, the truck was seized. So the question is, was it taken from Mr. Gumieni? So if this witness knows, then the witness can answer. The witness can answer if the witness does not know. Overruled.
I do not know if he was present during the seizure.
But you, as the evidentiary detective, would have to keep track of where something came from and where it went, right?
That will be documented by others' reports, as far as the seizure and how it actually got to the barracks. Once it gets to the barracks and we're done with processing, then I know where the vehicle goes.
All right, where it goes after. But isn't it part of your job to keep track of where it came from? That you, at one point, had something to do with it and then it went someplace else? Isn't that part of your job?
No.
It is not?
No.
Okay, fair enough. So in any event, if you would go now to number 17, please. Photograph 17. Now, the state describes these as Tacoma seats, but you inspected these seats, right?
Yes.
They weren't actually Tacoma seats, were they?
No.
They were Ford Motor Company seats, weren't they?
Yes.
So does Ford own Toyota, to your knowledge?
I don't know that, sir.
Okay. But in any event, you did not believe that these two seats originally came from that Toyota. They were not original seats as far as you knew, correct?
Objection.
Well, the question is, essentially, you knew that these seats were not original seats to the Tacoma. And the objection is?
I believe the way counsel phrased it was, do you believe that these seats were originally from the Tacoma? Your Honor, so the seats would be relevant as to what Detective Riley believes and cause for speculation.
Well, the objection is relevant, sustained.
Your Honor, I'll note that the state has labeled this Tacoma seats. It's up on the screen. And therefore, I'm trying to elicit the fact that these are not actually Tacoma seats.
Your Honor, if I can, it's the state's label with respect to organizing the file. That is not what was offered as an exhibit. What is offered as an exhibit is the actual photograph, not the state's numbering system or labeling system.
The witness has testified that he was involved in the processing. What he believes about where the seats came from is beyond the scope and not relevant. Sustained.
In any event, by inspecting these seats, you could tell from what was on them that they were from the Ford Motor Company, correct?
Yes.
I take it from your testimony before the break that you were going over this entire vehicle almost inch by inch. I don't exaggerate, but based on these photographs we saw, isn't that a fair assessment of what you did with this vehicle?
Yes.
You pulled out the the door, interior of the door, correct?
At a later date.
Well, I'm including at a later date. So,
Correct.
well, let me get that straight. How long was this truck in your possession that you were doing something on it?
From June the 11th, when we initially started it, to August 27th.
And it was at least after that date before, was it ever returned to Mr. Goumier?
No, sir.
It was not. Okay. And then, according to your testimony, you actually physically removed the doors from this vehicle, correct?
The inside panel of one door.
Right. And I think we looked at that. If you put on number 21, please. So in this picture, we actually see the interior paneling removed, correct?
Yes.
And then the flooring has been removed as well, correct?
The carpet, correct.
Okay. And then there is picture 20 shows the contents of this vehicle that was taken out of it, right?
Yes.
We see what looks like one of those energy drink cans there, right?
Yes, sir.
Some pens, right?
Yes.
Correct?
Correct.
Keys.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, sir.
Some kind of a, could you zoom in a little more? I want to see what some of these things are. Is that like was that an alligator clip on a chain there on the left side? Lower bottom?
Oh,
Lower
he's
bottom.
so
yeah, lower left.
tedious. Oh, this guy. This guy.
I don't remember what that is, sir.
Okay, and then we see some colorful, they look like some kind of maybe battery fuses or some kind of a little electronic things, of blue, red, green, you see all those things?
Those are automotive fuses.
Automotive fuses.
Oh my
Okay.
God.
Did
Oh
you
my God.
at least examine each and every, I don't need to go through everything that's on this picture here, but did you examine each and every item to make sure there wasn't something that you thought was worth your seizing?
That's correct.
Did you look at the business cards that were in there as well?
Yes.
Okay.
He does
And I
get
noticed
worse.
in one picture, maybe it's, 23, if you could pull up 23, please.
This is
a view that
1.25.
after the seat was removed, the carpeting was removed, correct?
Correct.
There is some kind of chain in the back of this image here. Do you see that on number
Yes.
23?
Yes, sir.
Those tire chains?
I don't remember, sir. They don't appear to be tire chains.
Did you examine the chains to see whether they had any evidentiary significance that you might need to seize or swipe back?
The chains were looked at. No evidentiary value was found, and they were just noted on the inventory.
All right, and we see there's some, if you go zoom in a little bit on the chains, there's some rust on there. These reddish brown, you see there's reddish brown staining on it?
Yes.
And was that some kind of blood-like stain?
Did not appear to be.
It seemed like rust to you, didn't it?
To me, yes.
Okay, and there may even be, if you look closely on the floor bed of this vehicle, there may be some rusty things where there's some holes. You see where there's some holes where screws and bolts have been removed? You see that?
Yes, sir.
If you zoom in even closer on that in this picture, looks like there's a lot of rust around there too, right?
That's fair.
And we see all this, it looks like a darkened, stained, maybe wet area on the floor bed of this side of the truck, the passenger side, after the seats and the carpeting has been removed. You see what I'm referring to here?
Yes.
And in fact, in the indents, in the depressions, it's even brownish within the red paint. You see that?
Yes.
Did you take swipes of that as well?
No.
So you looked at it and determined that these stains did not have any evidentiary value, correct?
Yes.
This
You
guy.
did say that you did some swabbing of the license plates, correct?
Yes.
You also did fingerprinting to see if there were any fingerprints on these license plates, right?
Correct.
And your results were negative for fingerprints, right?
That is correct.
And you checked even the bolts that the license plate were held onto the vehicle by, right?
Yes.
And I take it that a license plate bolt is large enough so it could capture a fingerprint impression if somebody used a finger to either tighten it or loosen it, right?
Not the bolt itself, sir.
All right. The front face of the bolt?
I don't believe so, sir.
So what part of the bolt were you testing for fingerprints?
Oh, not for fingerprints, for DNA, sir.
Oh, okay. So I didn't get to swabbing for DNA. I was talking about fingerprints. Did you dust the bolts for fingerprints?
No, not the bolt, sir.
Okay. The bolts, though, you did swab for DNA, right?
That's correct.
And that would be maybe for what, touch DNA, for skin cells, with people maybe manipulating the bolt?
Yes.
Same thing with the license plate. You use DNA swabbing, right?
No, the license plates, we just did fingerprints.
Okay. Even though even if the truck had been in rain or been washed, the back of the plate, someone might have grabbed it, could have had fingerprints, right? On it?
Well, that's why we were looking for fingerprints.
Yeah. Oh, on it. Okay. Now, there was some testimony about spraying for luminol, using luminol to spray for things that glowed, right?
Yes.
And you took that, you wiped in the places that glowed, right?
Yes.
And you were the one then who would have these items submitted to the lab, correct?
Me or another, our evidence officer.
Right. When you say the other evidence officer, I thought you were the evidence officer on this investigation.
No, for the major crime squad in general, the person who, kind of the curator of the evidence room.
Right. Because isn't there a list of all the items and that they ended up, that somebody had to attribute where it came from and where it went, right?
Yes.
At all times, right?
Yes.
So they didn't get contaminated by third parties, right?
Yes.
And you knew that they found no evidence of blood on any of those swabs out of this truck, correct?
I don't know that for sure, sir.
You know that in the areas where you swabbed for luminol and submitted it, there was no evidence of blood detected at the lab, correct?
Objection.
Well, the first question, to the first question, the witness said he had no knowledge of that. This is just the second car of the train. And the anticipated answer is he had no knowledge of any testing that was posed by the question, the results of the testing. So the court will allow the question overruled.
So
Just
I'm
knock
not
that
positive what the results were for the swabs from the areas that tested positive with the Castlemeyer.
Okay, so then I'll just ask you the general question. Did anything about the swabs themselves lead specifically to some additional action or investigation on your part?
On my part?
Yes.
No, sir.
Okay. I just have a moment.
You don't want that? Oh, I know what you want.
And since I've asked these questions before, I just want to get clarification. You already have acknowledged that that luminol is just one of these presumptive tests that you use, correct?
Yes.
There are lots of things that that glow when you spray luminol on that besides blood, correct?
That's correct.
And even Castlemeyer, it could even test for animal blood, right?
Yes.
And there are even certain vegetation and other items that also glow, correct?
Yes.
So when you talk about using these techniques that was it you that testified you buy this, you get this through a forensic store or lab or something? Was that you that testified to that previously?
Just the luminol.
Okay, you buy it, right?
Yes.
And then you use it. It's sort of a place where you start, it gives you at least a pinpoint where to start swabbing, right?
That's correct.
She's a little brat. She wants the ones
You said that you seized the entire door
Dynado Center.
panel. You shipped that to, or took it to the state lab, correct?
Yes, it was sent to the lab.
And the door and the seats themselves that were the Ford seats that we've seen pictures of, they were also taken to the laboratory down in Meriden, the state forensic lab, correct?
I'm not aware that happened, sir.
The swabs were, however, correct? Were sent there?
You mean the cutting, sir?
The cuttings, yes.
Yeah, the one cutting we took from the seat was sent to the lab.
And you took the cutting, I think we can put the picture out now. The cutting came from the fabric of the seat or the seat cover?
The seat cover.
And it was based on an area that you said had a stain on it, right?
Yes.
Were you told the results of the whether or not that cutting contained blood by the lab?
Yes, I'm aware that it did contain blood.
In fact, it came back negative for blood, didn't it?
I was told it was blood.
By whom? By the lab people?
I remember on a lab report.
All right, well, we will be having the lab person, so if the lab report and the lab person, I just want to be clear, disagree with your memory, would you be willing to concede you might be in error?
I would defer to the lab.
Okay, all right, fair enough. I also wanted to ask you about those seats again. You had some communications with the lab people about those seats, correct?
Yes.
In writing, right? Back and forth.
By email, yes.
Email, well, email, right? I'm using a term writing. I don't know if anybody writes anymore. Typing, okay. But in any event, there were electronic communications back and forth, right?
Yes.
And you were asked by the lab, do you know which seat was which of these two Ford seats?
Objection.
Ground.
But now we're outside the scope of direct, Your Honor. There also
Well-
calls for hearsay.
Well, at
The
this
question
point,
is not here.
well, at this point, communications with the lab appear to this court to be outside of the scope of the direct. Whether this witness received a lab report is in evidence. But what was communicated from the lab in those reports to this witness appears to be outside of the scope.
All right, I'll ask a different
So
question.
sustained.
When you looked at these seats, right? You looked at them
Yes,
and you examined them, right?
correct.
You did not know which one was the driver's side or the passenger side, isn't that true?
That's correct.
Because they were just in the back of a flatbed of a pickup truck when you saw them, right?
That's correct.
And unlike maybe shoes, one didn't get marked left side or right side, correct?
Because I don't know how they were mounted if they were in the truck.
Well, that's why I asked if they were, whether you knew whether they were original Toyota Ford motor seats or not. So you wouldn't have necessarily known how they were mounted, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Asked and answered.
Well, the testimony is that the seats in the bed of the truck presumably were Ford Motor Company seats. And now to ask this witness about in what way they were mounted when there was no evidence that they had been mounted does not seem to be relevant.
My question is, he did not know how they'd been mounted. I didn't ask him how they were, but the fact he didn't know how.
Well, again, that's, in this court view, not relevant, sustained.
Happy anniversary,
There was
Julie
nothing
Frazier.
on the seats themselves that indicated that one was the driver's side seat, correct?
We had no evidence on how they were mounted in a vehicle.
Okay.
This guy.
And I just want to be clear, you yourself didn't do any confirmatory tests to make sure or determine whether any of the stains that you observed in this vehicle were blood, correct?
That's correct.
Had tomatoes for everyone to throw.
I want to now ask you a few questions about your testimony about Lapham Road. You were asked questions by Ms. Manning about your being down there in the vehicles, correct?
Yes.
Can we pull up, I guess, 24, then 25, and then 20? All right, if you could zoom in a little bit, please, and just pull it up the other way. Yeah. So, no, could you pull it up a little so we see the Merritt Parkway? Thank you. All right. So that's what I was going to ask you. You're aware that and I'll use the cursor for this myself. You're aware that when you testified about the Merritt Parkway, this is the Merritt Parkway traveling along here towards the bottom of the screen, correct?
That's correct.
And you testified that Waveney Park was up this way to the right side of Lapham Road, correct?
Yes.
And that on the left side, this was except for where there was, were you aware that there were these giant mulch piles that the town of New Canaan keeps there and spreads out in that spot there? Did you notice that while you were there?
Not while I was there.
Okay. Are you even aware that that's what that is?
Not when I was there.
Okay. Or mulch piles or whatever?
I learned that later.
Okay. So, and then this is all woods on this side of the road, an undeveloped part of town land, correct?
Yes.
And it borders to this side the Metro North commuter rail line, correct? That this is the edge of that wooded area, correct?
Yes.
And that you knew that right here, just below the Merritt Parkway, there is a.
Okay, so real quick, all that nonsense that he just went through, like pointing out the rust and the chains and all that stuff, he's pointing out that in his tedious, non-effective way, he's trying to point out that there were some things that they tested that were that the presumptive positive test, or the presumptive test came back positive, but Riley said that nothing that was tested at the lab, like the things that they tested positive for on the presumptive testing, were then sent to the lab. And he says that nothing that was tested at the lab led to any additional action on his part. And the defense attorney was saying, did you know that there's no evidence of blood detected at the lab of any of the swabs that you did? So he's going through all of this in his tedious, long, drawn-out way, trying to say, okay, you see that there's rust here and there's rust here. We know that rust can test positive on the presumptive test on luminol and stuff like that. So he's trying to say, you know, the presumptive tests that were done in there like tested positive because they could have been rust or anything like that. And also you tested some of the things that looked, you know, like dark and, you know, could be rust, but you didn't test others. He went through all of that just for that little nugget that of course gets lost because nobody can pay attention to him for that long because he's so tedious and long-winded.
A trestle.
But also the presumptive test for blood, like, or presumptive test for luminol or whatever being sent for lab and stuff like that. Remember, the stuff that was inside the Tacoma isn't what was where the blood was found, but it was on those original seats. So that's stuff that we already knew anyway, but he goes through we did. Jury doesn't. But jury still probably doesn't know anything because they can't keep up with him because he talks too much.
Bridge, if you want to call it that. It's a railroad overpass over the Merritt Parkway, right?
Yeah, that's what it appears to be, sir.
And you're also then aware, I assume, that just below that is the Talmadge Hill train station, correct?
Objection. Relevance of where the train station outside the scope of direct.
He showed the map, Your Honor. She showed the map to this witness, so I'm just inquiring about other items in that.
Well, the universe of this witness's testimony is processing the Tacoma. what this witness has said about Lapham Road does not contemplate all of the surrounding areas, so it's outside of the scope. Just saying.
I'm showing you now, I moved it ahead to exhibit, or to photo 25 within the state's exhibit. You see that there now? I believe this is exhibit 89? So that, is this 89 for the record?
I'm not sure. He's so tedious.
Is it the same speaking since I was just given a copy, so I just want to.
Well, 89 is the CD video clips from the school.
Oh, so it could be today.
It has to be either. It's none of those. No. 93? It might be the last one. Oh.
It's on council's desk, Your Honor.
It's right there in the corner of the desk.
Sorry.
Oh, got it. 93. Turned upside down, sorry. So you testified, as I understand it, that you were at Lapham Road on, you said May 25th, 2019?
Yes, sir.
And you observed that Chevy Suburban parked on the side of the road, correct?
Yes.
You were just also shown, as I understand it, before the break, a school bus video that showed a pickup truck parked on the side of a road in the turnout, right?
Yes.
Now, as I understand your testimony, you were at that location, right?
Yes, I was.
You saw that there was more than one turnout, right?
Yes.
Did you look at any of those turnouts, or were we looking at the vehicle while you were out there?
I was mainly concentrating on the vehicle.
But you know, based on that bus video, that there was another turnout in that video that was, what, on the other side of the road?
On the northbound shoulder?
Okay, can we go back to the map for a second? 24, please. 24, please. All right, so if you could just zoom in a little more and move it up, please.
He is so exhausting.
In this satellite view, which you can see cars on, if you zoom it out just a little, please. You can see a vehicle, for example, on the bridge of the overpass over the Merritt Parkway. Do you see that?
Yes.
And you can see some of the cars on the Merritt Parkway in this picture 24 when zoomed in, correct?
Yes.
But on the other hand, are you able to identify, by going to that screen behind you, where the turnout exactly was where you saw that Suburban? Are you able to do so? If not, you can. I don't have to make you get out there.
No, I can.
Okay. Is it in this zoomed in, or do you need me to zoom out a bit?
Zoom out a little bit more, please, sir.
Ah, okay. A little more?
A little bit more.
Okay.
So I remember it to be somewhere in this location.
Could you
Up around the L and Lapham.
near the L in the word Lapham?
Yes, somewhere up in this area.
All right. And could you also, and you say that the Suburban was pointing towards the Merritt Parkway, correct, or away?
It was pointing south.
South. And just so that we're oriented again, the word Lapham Road that we see in photo 24, the letter D in the word road is at the south end of the two words Lapham Road, correct?
Yes.
Could you also point out the turnout where you claim, you say that that school bus showed a truck parked?
It appeared to be down in this area here. So in the abbreviation for road.
Near the D for road or the R for road?
I can't say for sure, but.
In that area?
General area.
Was it on the same side of the street as the Suburban, that turnout?
Yes, it was.
It was on the same side of the street?
Yes.
Okay. And that is so that we're clear, that is the opposite side of the street from the Waveney Park main recreation area, correct?
Yes.
Okay, you can have a seat. So then I'm also clear that, do you know what the distance was between the turnout where the Suburban was found and the turnout and parking area where you said that the bus video showed the pickup truck?
I do not.
So it's whatever the length is between the L in Lapham and the RD of road, right?
Approximations, yes, sir.
Right. So if there was a scale, we could use a ruler or something, but without doing that, you're not able to estimate the distance, right?
To get a ballpark distance, yes.
Okay. Now, when we were looking at those bus videos, you also noticed there was traffic on Lapham Road, correct?
I don't specifically recall, sir.
You don't remember seeing other cars going by at that time of the morning?
I'd have to see it again, sir.
All right. Well, I'm not going to do that now. But in any event, when you were inspecting the Chevy Suburban in that location, was that during the day or was that at night?
It was during the day.
Was the road blocked off for your investigation?
I think it was, sir.
So there was no traffic going at that time because New Canaan Police or others were rerouting traffic away from that area, correct?
I only remember because we had parked our car directly in the center of the road, so.
So I take it from that answer that if you're parking in the middle of the road, it's
safe to do so.
It's safe to do so. You don't want people hitting your vehicle or hitting the officers doing their job, right?
Correct.
Okay. Just have a moment.
No. No more moments.
As I also understand, so when you were examining, I'll ask you a couple more questions about the Tacoma. You're looking at the Tacoma. You testified, I understand, towards the end of your testimony that even if an area did not illuminate or glow from luminol, there were a few places you took swabs just to have them, right?
No, and the swabs that we took from the inside door panels of that Tacoma, those were areas that were positive with the luminol.
I believe you also said there were a few, you looked at some pictures, which was just the inside paneling. You said you took some swipes there, even though they didn't test positive. Isn't that correct?
Even though they didn't test positive with Castlemeyer.
Right.
What was,
And with regard to the Lapham Road Park, did you get this, when you were there, it was Memorial Day weekend, correct?
Yes.
Did you notice the trails that went through the property there?
Just what can be seen from the road.
Did you notice there were some walking or hiking trails?
Yes, there were.
Did you notice any joggers in the area?
I didn't take notes, sir.
Any bicyclists in the area?
I don't remember, sir.
Or bike tracks? You notice any bicycle tracks?
Well, the question is, did you notice any of bicyclists, joggers, and what is the objection?
It's outside the scope of direct, Your Honor.
Well, it's not relevant. Sustained.
Did you notice whether there was any oil spots, fresh oil spots in any of the turnouts on the ground?
I didn't take note of any, sir.
And you didn't document them in any event, right?
Objection.
Well, if you took no note of them, there would be no possibility of documenting them. Sustained.
Can I just have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
no. I just did a poll. You have to pick one attorney to represent you. You have this guy, Shoehorn, or Shannon Smith, Crumley's attorney, or John Thomas, or Rashburn. Those are your options. You have to pick one.
I just want to clarify one thing. You are certain from the bus video you saw that the red pickup truck that was viewed in there was parked on the same side of Lapham Road as where you found the Suburban. Is that your testimony?
Yes.
You didn't see any vehicle parked there while you were down on that May 25th, did you?
No, just police vehicles.
Just police vehicles and the Chevy Suburban, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Just briefly, if I may. Sir, do you recall Attorney Shohorn asking you some questions about going through the Toyota Tacoma? He used the phrase inch by inch. Do you remember that line of questioning?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When you were going through the interior of the Tacoma, particularly the carpet and the back seats and the floor, was it dirty?
No, ma'am, it was very clean.
Did you find rocks or mud or anything on the floorboards in the front or the back of the vehicle?
No, like I said, it was extremely clean.
What about when you took the license plates, the screws, and you examined the license plates on the back and the front of the car? Were they dirty as well?
The fronts I remember being clean. I don't recall the back.
And with respect to those inventory pictures that counsel showed you, do you recall that line of questioning?
Yes.
Those items that were found in the inventory search, were they strewn about in the interior of the vehicle?
No, they were from, we lay them out as to what area of the vehicle they were found in. So in the overall photos, you can see the general condition of the vehicle and how the items were arranged.
Were they on the floor or the floorboards?
No, ma'am.
Were they in the center console?
Yes, ma'am.
What about the storage area in the back? Were items contained within there?
Yes, underneath the seats.
With respect to the bed of the truck, the empty truck, was there a lot of dirt and rocks and mud or anything contained within the bed of the truck?
No, ma'am.
The only thing contained in the truck was the seats that were there, correct?
Just the seats.
Would you characterize that area as cleaned as well?
Yes.
Nothing further, thank you.
I just have one question. Was that chain that I asked you about located in the spot where it's photographed?
I don't remember originally, sir. I would have to refer to either the overall photos or the inventory report.
Would somebody have moved it to that location to take a picture? In your presence?
It depends when during the search process this was done.
You don't recall?
I don't recall.
Nothing further.
Nothing further, thank you.
Detective Riley, you may step down.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Your
Hallelujah.
Honor. We finished a little earlier than expected. Our next witness will be here for 2 o'clock.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, a long lunch hour. So
Long
have a good
lunch
lunch.
hour.
Please do not talk about the
Long lunch hour, that means, and they ended early. All right, so this is day 14. All right, moving right along.
yesterday about, you know,
Oops. Oops, wrong. What was that? That was 14 morning. So now we need 14 afternoon. 14 afternoon. 14 afternoon is only an hour and 42 minutes.
So you're like, no.
Yes, Judge. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Parisi, by whom are you employed?
The Connecticut State Forensic Laboratory
Where's
All right,
the forensic laboratory
forensics.
located?
in Meriden, Connecticut.
What is your current title at the forensic laboratory?
I am a forensic science examiner assigned to the latent print unit.
What are your duties and responsibilities of the latent print unit?
Our responsibilities include the examination of fragmentary latent prints on objects that are submitted to the laboratory. We also examine photographs and lifts, determine if identifiable prints are present. We conduct a comparison between a known impression and a latent impression. We also utilize the automated fingerprint identification system and testify in court as to results.
How long have you been doing fingerprint analysis for?
Over 27 years.
What type of educating and training do you have that qualifies you for your position?
I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Springfield, Massachusetts. I also have a master's degree in forensic science from the University of New Haven. Prior to my employment with Connecticut, I had worked as a latent print examiner with the New Hampshire State Police Forensic Science Laboratory and also the NYPD Forensic Science Laboratory as a latent print examiner. Over this period of time, I completed a series of fingerprint training courses sponsored by the FBI, the Massachusetts Police Academy, the Institute of Police Training and Management, and the International Association for Identification. I further trained.
Okay, are we okay with skipping credentials and all that? I think we know how all that stuff works, right?
And law enforcement personnel.
And then your curriculum vitae?
Yes, I am.
And this document details your experience in training with fingerprints, is that right?
Because it is a reproduction of your friction ridges and a contaminant such as perspiration or oils. You need some type of development procedure in which to visualize it, such as fingerprint powder.
And what is a patent print?
Patent is another word for visible. That would be an impression that would be in blood or paint.
Can you indicate to the jury what types of things influence whether or not a fingerprint or perhaps a palm print can be left on a surface?
The surface itself has to be conducive, meaning it has to be smooth, such as glass, where your impressions lie right on top, rather than in a textured surface where your secretions run through the peaks and valleys, leaving it very obscured. Also, you have to have enough residue on your hands to transfer onto a conducive surface as well. If you're wearing gloves, gloves will be a barrier as well between your ridges and the surface where you cannot transfer residue through.
Now, if someone touches a particular surface without a glove on, does it always necessarily leave a patent or a latent print behind?
No.
And is that because of some of the factors that you outlined earlier?
Yes, some of those.
Can you, if a fingerprint or a palm print is developed on a particular surface, are you able to explain to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty how long that particular print has been on the surface?
No, we can determine between time or placement of that impression.
What types of things affect whether or not a print will remain on a surface over time?
One would be the environment. Your secretions are primarily 98% water. So if that environment is warm, those secretions would evaporate at a larger rate as it would be in the wintertime. Also, if that surface is wiped down or washed off, you're removing residue on that surface.
Can you describe for the jury the process of how you develop and compare prints to particular individuals?
Okay, we don't need to go through the process, right?
Explain to the jury what your normal process is.
Conducted through a methodology by side assessment between both examiner.
You mentioned your
skip processes and credentials and all that and get to the evidence.
Your
refer to the ridge
conclusion inconclusive mean.
There are characteristics lined in both impressions.
And how does that work?
By way of either scan or examination process, we wear gloves.
Latent print examinations under that particular case number?
Yes.
And did you also generate, I believe, 6 reports in connection with that case?
I believe so.
Natalie O, get to membership. Thank you so much. I went to Sonia Horton. Welcome. Natalie O, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Most of y'all picked Shannon Smith as your attorney.
you just have a moment, counsel.
Yes.
Pre-mark for identification of states 95 through 101.
Thank you.
Mr. Parisi,
love
can you
speed
just
trialing.
look at the documents that I handed you? Are those the reports that you generated in connection with this case?
Those are the
I'm just going to ask
reports.
that you keep those with you in case you have to refer to them during your testimony. Mr. Parisi, did the laboratory receive what are known as known fingerprint exemplars from various individuals in this particular case?
Yes.
And what is a known exemplar?
That would be the intentional recordings of a subject's known impressions or fingerprint impressions throughout their hands and their palms by using black ink or electronic methods.
And
Jenny
whose
said I'm going
exemplars did you
first.
receive in connection with this case?
Fotis Dulos, Michelle Troconis, Theodore Dulos, Petros Dulos, Constantine Dulos, Christiane Dulos, Cleopatra Dulos, Lauren Almeida, Matthew Blank, and Aridi Silva.
And Cleopatra Dulos is also known as C. Noel Dulos, is that correct?
That is correct.
And you're now aware that Aaron LaTourette and Matthew Blank are New Canaan police personnel. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Now,
Thank you, little B.
Mr. Parisi, it's already been stipulated between the parties that Detective Matthew Riley of the Connecticut State Police seized latent prints from 69 Wells Lane, a 2014 Range Rover, and a 2017 Chevrolet Suburban. They were numbered latent prints 1 through 13. I want to remove 9 from the equation for just a second. Would it be fair to say that all of those prints either belonged to a Dulos child or were insufficient for fingerprint analysis?
Yes.
Now, I want to talk to you specifically about what Detective Riley identified as latent print number 9 from a 2014 Range Rover. Were you able to do an analysis of that and attribute it to a particular individual?
Yes, I did. That impression was one associated palm print as well as fingers. There were 4 fingers as well as a palm print, and that was associated to the left hand of Aaron LaTourette.
And you did those comparisons for what Detective Riley identified as latent prints 1 through 13 using photographs, is that correct?
That's correct.
And it's also fair to say that Fotis Dulos and Michelle Troconis were eliminated with respect to latent prints 1 through 13, is that right?
Correct.
Now, in connection with this case, did you also receive physical evidence, meaning you did more than just look at photographs?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the one you gave me, right? No objection.
If I just have some more time. Your Honor, this is states 102. I move it into evidence. I don't think there's an objection.
102 admitted as a full exhibit.
All right, here's evidence. Now we're getting to
We're
the evidence.
95 through 101 admitted.
No, sir, they're just for ID at this point.
Thank you.
Now, with respect to the physical submissions that you received, do you recall receiving a submission which the laboratory identified as number 4?
Yes.
What was submission number 4?
2 doorknobs.
What condition did you receive the doorknobs?
The doorknobs were previously super glued by the submitting agency.
So I'm going to ask if we could please open the folder, State Police Exhibit 12, lab submission number 4. Could you just explain to the jury what we're looking at here?
This would,
yeah, it's behind you, I'm sorry.
yes, then.
Yes, of course.
This would be an image of the doorknob with a visible impression in red ground stain.
And you indicated that you received this from the submitting agency and it had already been superglued. Did you take any additional steps with respect to this particular item?
Yes, we applied fingerprint powder over the surface, developing an additional impression as well.
And when you say you developed an additional impression, was that impression sufficient for comparison purposes?
No, it was not.
The impression that we're seeing on the screen, can you just point it out for the jury and sort of outline where it is?
It would be in this location.
And was this particular impression that you just pointed in, specifically you made a circular motion in the center of the doorknob, sufficient for comparison purposes?
Yes, it is.
And did you do a comparison of this particular thing? Well, first of all, did you identify it as a fingerprint or a palm print?
This is a partial fingerprint impression.
And were you able to attribute this particular print to any of the known exemplars that you received?
No.
Did you enter this particular print or photograph into APHIS to do a state and national search?
Yes, we did.
And did you receive any results?
There's no hit, no viable candidates identifying that impression.
Thank you, sir. Submission 50?
Yes.
Do you recall what submission 50 was?
It was a clear plastic bag with red-brown stains and 3 holes.
Clear plastic bag. It did look like a crystal ball, didn't it, Simon? Or like that big old bean in Chicago.
Entered into evidence as State's Exhibit 43 for this particular trial. Was this submission 50? Is this the submission 50 that we reviewed?
Thank you, Julie Martin. Thank you so much.
Yes, it is.
I'm just going to publish 50 to the jury, Your Honor. Now, this particular item, sir, when you received it, you can see it's almost a charcoal or a black color now, correct?
Correct.
When you received this item, was it this particular color?
No,
What color was it?
it was clear.
Do you know how it became this particular color?
This was a result of our fingerprint processing methods.
And what method in particular, sir?
Fingerprint powder.
And with respect to State's Exhibit 43 for trial, lab submission number 50, were you able to identify any impressions of value on this particular item?
No.
So nothing on that one? They do. I think they're going to get to it with this guy.
I'm handing you what has been entered into evidence as State's Exhibit 44. Did you also review
With a hood and red-brown stains.
and did you do the same process with State's Exhibit 44 that you did with State's Exhibit 43 to try to develop impressions of value?
Yes.
And were you able to develop any impressions of value from this particular exhibit?
No.
I wish they could skip all the ones where they didn't find anything.
Handing you what's been entered into evidence as State's Exhibit 52. Did you receive a submission number 55?
Yes.
And what was that, sir?
55 was a bent red mop handle.
And what process did you utilize to try to develop impressions on this mop handle?
Super glue fuming, dye staining as well.
And is this the mop handle, sir?
Yes, it is.
And once again, were you able to develop any impressions of value on the mop handle?
No.
See, like, why have to go through all that when they're not getting... Yeah, we don't have to listen to the bags open, thank goodness. I love being able to skip that because it's so loud. They always do it right in the microphone.
Just going to bring over what's been entered into evidence as it's labeled State's Exhibit 63. And did you receive a submission entitled 41-3?
Yes.
What was submission 41-3?
It was a black plastic bag which had been torn and tied.
All right, sir, I'm just going to ask that you review this. Is this the bag that the black bag you mentioned earlier?
Yes.
Okay. And are your initials on the bag?
Yes, my initials and lab number were placed on the bag.
Okay. And is this the bag that you examined, sir?
Yes.
All right. Were any impressions of value developed in this particular bag?
No.
Did you utilize the same methods?
Yes, I did.
I want to direct your attention now to a submission entitled number 88. Did you review a submission entitled 88?
Yes, I did.
And what was submission 88?
88 consisted of 4 plastic bags.
And were they subdivided into separate item numbers?
Yes, we itemized those into 88-1, 88-2, and 88-3.
When you received submission 88-1, can you describe the condition you received it in for the jury?
88-1 consisted of 2 bags that had been attached by 1 piece of black tape. 1 bag was torn and 1 bag was untorn.
Oh,
And
these
did
might
you do
be
a
it.
visual inspection of the bags?
Yes, I did.
And did you locate anything inside of the bags?
Yes, inside the untorn bag was a green and yellow sponge, black tape that was stuck to the inside of the bag, and also 1 unused folded black plastic bag.
And I'm just going to ask if we can
Is this
follow
it?
up. Submission. So we're opening the folder entitled 88 and going to lab submission 88.1, and then specifically the photo entitled lab 88.1. Mr. Parisi, I don't know if you can see the screen in front of you or behind you, but can you just indicate to the jury what we're looking at here?
Sure. This would be an overall photograph of 88-1, which would be the 2 bags and a piece of black tape attached to both bags.
Where was this photograph taken?
In the latent print section at the forensic laboratory.
Did you also take a photograph of the tape in place on the bag?
Yes.
Here we go. I think this is it.
This is the photo entitled Lab 88.1, tape in place. Thank you, Jury Manning. Can you just indicate for the jury, perhaps stand up and just point out to the jury where this particular tape was located?
This is the location of the tape, and it was attached to both bags, the untorn bag and the torn bag.
Was it holding the bags together?
Yes.
Okay. And did you ultimately remove that tape as part of your analysis?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And did you take a photograph when you removed the tape?
Yes.
All right. This is photograph Lab 88.1 tape removed. Can you tell the jury what we're looking at here?
This would be the tape that was removed from the 2 bags.
Incidentally, is there writing on that tape?
Yes, on the underside of the tape, there was writing, and the writing was indicated as Tour de France.
And when you indicated it was as Tour de France,
Okay, hold on. We've been saying La Tour de trash cans this whole time, and now they have tape that says La Tour de France. That's actually really funny.
can you describe to the jury how you were able to conclude that?
The image that you see here was actually reversed from what was taken off of the bag itself. Once it was reversed with Photoshop, of course, you can read the writing Tour de France.
Okay. Thank you, sir. You can have a seat.
La Tour de trash cans.
Now, you indicated that you actually looked inside the bags as well, and I think you found a couple of items. Is that right?
Yes.
What did you find?
Inside 88-1 was a green and yellow sponge and also black tape, as well as an unused bag.
La Tour de trash can. That's really funny.
I think this may be for ID, Judge. It's 53D. I'm approaching Mr. Parisi.
Thank you.
Mr. Parisi, is this the, well, why don't you tell us what we're looking at here?
This is packaging with our lab number indicated, our barcode indicated as DSS 192984, marked as a green and yellow sponge.
And is this the sponge that you recovered from submission 88-1?
Yes,
How do you know that, sir?
because it's packaged inside the bag indicated from 88-1 on the barcode, as well as my initials.
I move it in, Judge.
I just have a moment. Can I have a moment, counsel?
Ugh, this guy.
Matt? Yes.
53?
53D.
53D admitted as full.
And I believe you also indicated that you found an unused black bag inside of 88-1?
Yes.
I think this might be for ID also, Judge. This is 53C as in Charlie. Sir, I'm handing you what's been pre-marked for identification as State's Exhibit 53C. Can you tell the jury what that is?
It's repackaging, which is marked 88-102, or lab number DSS 192984, indicated as a folded unused black plastic garbage bag.
And is this the bag that you found inside of 88-1?
Yes,
And was it given its own number as well?
yes, it was.
What's that number?
88-001-02.
I move it in, Judge.
Could I inquire? I just have a question about this. So, good afternoon, sir.
Ugh.
You marked everything that you found. You gave either a number. You gave a number to, right?
Correct.
And so sometimes there's hyphens and extra numbers. Are we still talking about these same items that you're looking at?
Yes, we are.
And you did that even if there was no fingerprints or latent prints of any kind found on those documents. Am I correct about that?
Yes, we're separating the submission number and the item number as well.
So, and just to be clear, if I'm looking at the right one, there were no impressions found on those last two items, correct?
No, the sponge was not processed for latent print analysis, wasn't suitable for latent print analysis.
And this last thing, I'm just trying to follow along on your report. Is that last thing you were just showing the bag, was that processed?
Yes, it was.
And were there any prints found on that?
No.
Oh, then I don't object.
53C admitted as full.
He's always got something to question that leads
Attorney
nowhere.
Schumer beat me to some of my questions there, but I think we have a couple of
I thought he
photographs.
almost
I just
fell
want to
off
show Lab 88.1.1, the sponge. This is that photograph in that exhibit. Mr. Parisi, is this a photograph that you took of the sponge as you found it?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. And if we could also show the plastic bag. This is 88.1.2. Can you show us or tell us what we're looking at here?
This was the folded unused bag that was inside 88-1, the untorn bag.
Okay. And were there any other, you indicated that you had attempted to develop impressions of value on this, but were unable to do so. Were there, was there anything else that you noticed about this particular bag?
There was red-brown stains on the bag.
Okay. And was this bag ultimately sent to the forensic biology unit of the state laboratory?
Yes, it was.
Was the sponge also sent to the forensic biology unit?
Yes.
He is, oh, Cecilia. He's like, oh, I can just sit down.
I want to direct your attention now specifically to the tape that you had mentioned that said Tour de France. Did you attempt to develop prints on that tape?
Yes, we processed the adhesive side of the tape.
Okay. And were you able to develop any prints that were suitable for comparison?
One impression was suitable for comparison.
How many impressions did you find overall?
2.
Okay. And incidentally, before I show this, 88-1, which was the bag all of these items were found in, or 2 bags, were those processed also for impressions of value?
Yes, they were.
And were you able to locate any?
No.
Okay. So at this point, I would like to show.
All right, here we go.
So can you explain to the jury, this is for the record, a photo entitled Lab 88.1, LP1, and LP2. Could you just indicate for the jury what we're looking at, and maybe if you want to step up to the television?
Here's a print on the tape, Latorde trash can
Okay,
tape.
this is the underside or adhesive side of the black tape that was attached to both of the bags. And it said Tour de France on this piece of tape. There are two impressions that were developed. One impression marked L1 was insufficient for comparison, and L2 was sufficient for comparison.
And how were you able to develop these particular prints?
With a reagent called a wet WAP. It's a wet reagent that we brush across the surface, rinse it off with water, and then those impressions were developed.
And just so the record is clear, this photograph actually has the letters L1 with an arrow and L2 with an arrow. That's what you were pointing at when you were referring to the respective latent impressions. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, you've also indicated that latent print number 2 was sufficient for comparison.
Yes.
Who did you compare latent print number 2? Strike that. It's a bad question. Which individual did you attempt to compare latent print number 2 to?
Fotis Dulos.
All right. And I'm just going to ask if we can pull up the photograph. First of all, how did you do this comparison?
Did a side-by-side comparison assessing a latent print developed on the tape, which is L2, versus the known impressions off the fingerprint card marked Fotis Dulos.
And did you take a photograph of that comparison?
Yes.
All right.
Get to it,
Now,
get
you
to
indicated
it.
that you did a side-by-side comparison. Can you just indicate, and I'll just indicate for the record that this photograph is entitled Lab 88.1 L2 Comparison to Dulos. Could you tell the jury what we're looking at here?
This is our comparison chart. On the left side would be L2, developed off of that piece of tape we marked earlier. On the right side would be the left ring finger off the fingerprint card marked Fotis Dulos. The black lines correspond to the friction ridges. The white areas correspond to the valleys between the ridges. The red dots correspond to the ridge characteristics that lie within both impressions as well. The purple lines are forming the ridge flow as well around those characteristics.
Now, what was your conclusion with respect to latent print 2 to Mr. Dulos?
Latent print number 2 was inconclusive, to the left ring finger of Fotis Dulos.
And can you just indicate for the jury when you say inconclusive, what does that mean again?
That means that there's a minimal agreement between the ridge flow, which are the black lines, and the red dots, the corresponding ridge characteristics. However, due to the quality of the latent print, we cannot conclusively say that it is the source or not.
All right, thank you, sir. And you also looked at submission 88-2, is that correct?
Yes.
What was submission 88-2?
A black plastic bag.
Just before I get there, I'm handing you what's been marked for identification as 53B as in Bravo. Could you indicate to the jury what 53B is?
This will be indicated as submission 88-001L1, pieces of black tape developed impressions.
So is this the black tape that said Tour de France that we were looking at earlier?
Yes, it is.
Judge, I move it in.
Could you just repeat the number again? So
The submission number from the lab is 88-1-L1L2.
when you say 1, do you mean 001? I'm trying to follow along.
Yes, sir.
And what was the second one?
Well, it's 88-001-L1, and it's State Trial Exhibit 53B as in Bravo.
Be Kind Tiger, thank you for gifting a membership.
Just have a moment to do a comparison. No objection.
Can't find the sticker number, Judge, but is this what I'm handing you? Submission 88-1?
Yes, it is.
All right, and so this is the two pieces of black plastic bag that were taped together with the Tour de France tape?
That's correct.
I'm handing you an object. Can you just tell the jury what we're looking at here?
This is marked as 088-002, one black plastic bag.
And is this the item that was submitted as 88-2 that we were just discussing?
Correct.
I just have a moment, Attorney Manning, Your Honor.
Yes.
And Judge, I just wanted to make sure that I buttoned up the record here. 88-1, 88-2, 88-3, I believe they all constitute state trial exhibit number 57 for the record.
The bags, they're so loud. I agree, JMO.
Did you do a visual inspection of 88-2?
Yes.
And did you find anything inside of 88-2?
A torn piece of paper was inside 88-2.
And was that given a separate item number as well?
Yes, it was.
Oh, apologies. 53, Your Honor, is all the items we're looking at. I'm actually going to ask that this be marked. This be marked as 53G for identification, Your Honor.
Thank you.
For a second?
Yes.
I just want to be clear, following along the report, is this Exhibit 53G, which is noted as 88-002-01, there were no comparisons or fingerprints developed from this, correct?
Correct. It was processed with no identifiable prints being developed.
But it went somewhere other than you after, correct?
Correct.
And those initials that are on this are not yours, correct?
On that packaging, I would have to look at it.
I just want to.
I'm handing you 53G as in golf for identification. Mr. Parisi, do you see your initials on this?
Yes, I do.
Judge, I move in.
Do you see someone else's initials on there?
There are, along with my own initials, yes.
Yeah, someone else's initials, was that someone who had that after you?
Yes, forensic biology.
So I'm going to object at this point, Your Honor. I don't think that we're at a point where this item should be admitted as full. If we're going to hear from that other individual, obviously that would make a difference to you.
Well, as of right now, Mr. Parisi said his initials are on the submission, and that the submission was analyzed, overruled.
So I move it in, Judge. 53G.
53G admitted as full.
Was anything else located in the bag?
No.
And I believe you indicated that you did actually do a visual inspection of 88-2-1, the piece of paper that was just submitted into evidence?
Yes.
And were there any impressions of value on it?
No.
Okay. Did you also do an examination of the bag entitled Submission 88-2?
Yes.
All right. Can I ask if we can just pull up the photo entitled 88.2, Lab 88.2? Mr. Parisi, what are we looking at here?
This would be plastic bag marked 88-002.
And you indicated that you attempted to develop latent prints from this bag. Can you explain to the jury the process you went through?
Yes. First thing we do is a visual examination where we use available light in the room to look for any visible impressions on the bag. There were none. We then superglued the item, in which you take the bag and place it in an enclosed chamber, heat up liquid superglue. The glue vaporizes, adheres to the moisture in the prints, turning it white, and makes it secure. At that point, there was an area of friction-rich detail that was developed. The area was documented through photography. We then use a fluorescent dye stain, which is sprayed over the surface. Now will stain any area that has been superglued. However, you have to move it into a dark room, view under an alternate light source, in which you can view the entire spectrum of light from UV to IR. And we're looking for any areas that were fluoresced off the bag. And the impression that we initially developed with superglue did fluoresce, and now it's documented through photography.
And if we can pull up Lab 88.2 L1. You had mentioned that you used the super glue process. Could you just indicate to the jury in this photograph where a impression of value was developed?
Certainly. Okay, this is the bag we processed with super glue 88-002, and in this area would be a developed area of friction-rich detail.
And you are making a circular motion in the center, slightly to the right portion of the bag, just underneath what appears to be a ruler. Is that correct?
Correct.
And the area that you're circling appears to be lighter in color than the rest of the bag. Is that right?
Yes.
Was that the impression of value that you developed here?
Yes, it is.
And was it sufficient for comparison purposes?
Yes, it was.
And who did you compare it to?
This impression was compared to Fotis Dulos.
Okay. And may I ask that you just stay up there? This is photograph lab 88.2L1, comparison to Dulos. Mr. Parisi, can you tell the jury what we're looking at here?
On the left side would be the developed impression marked 88-002L1 off of the previous bag that we viewed. And on the right side would be the known right index finger off the fingerprint card marked Fotis Dulos. The black lines again represent the friction ridges. The white areas are the furrows between the ridges. The red dots correspond to the ridge characteristics line in both impressions in the same relative area. And the line in the center in this location indicates the same ridge flow or loop pattern in both impressions.
So were you able to reach a conclusion with respect to this particular comparison?
Yes, we did.
What was your conclusion, sir?
88-002L1 has been identified as a right index finger off the fingerprint card marked Fotis Dulos.
Finally, we have a match. All this, and we finally have our first match, our first evidence. We have a match.
88-2 that I wanted to show you.
Fotis' fingerprint.
88.2.1 torn piece of paper. What are we looking at here, sir?
This was a torn piece of paper that was located inside the bag.
And again, no impressions of value were developed on this particular piece of paper, correct?
That's correct.
We have a match. We have a match.
Handing you what's been entered into evidence as states 53. It's a bag. Title submission 88-003. Can you just tell the jury what we're looking at here?
This will be packaging for lab submission 88-003, one torn black plastic bag tied in a knot.
And did you analyze this particular submission in the course of your analysis for this case?
Yes, I did.
Let's do 1.5. They move so slow on this.
Can you describe the submission as you received it?
It was one black plastic bag that had been torn and tied in one side.
I'm just going to ask if we can go to the folder titled 88-3. And we can pull up lab 88.3. Can you tell the jury what we're looking at here?
This would be documentation photographs of lab 88-003, which shows the bag that had been tied and torn.
And I just want to be clear here, is this one bag or two? Because there appears to be kind of a knot in the center area in the lower photograph.
It is one bag that is tied.
And did you do a visual inspection of this bag and look for any contents that it might have?
Yes, I did.
And did you locate anything in the bags themselves?
Yes, inside the bag was a piece of cardboard, also black tape that was attached to the inside of the bag, and the outside was a piece of paper.
Fotis' fingerprint was on a bag. It took us that long to get there, but we got there. Oh my God, cross-examination is going to be pulling teeth. Come on, dude. Of course he wants to ask questions.
I'm approaching you with what has been marked for identification purposes only as 53E as in Echo and 53F as in Foxtrot. Beginning with 53E, can you tell us what 53E is?
This packaging is marked submission 088-003-01, one piece of cardboard located inside the bag.
And is this a piece of cardboard that you personally located inside of 88.3?
Yes.
Thank you, Suzanne.
I just wanted to do the same question. Following along on the report, this item is one that there were no fingerprint impressions found, correct?
Correct.
And it also has other initials. This also went to a biology person?
Yes, it did.
And it's got letters CMR on there, right?
Yes, it is.
You know that to be a Christine M. Roy who used to work for the lab?
Yes.
But she had this after you. correct?
That is correct.
I'm not going to object.
What is the submission number, please, or the exhibit number?
53E.
53E admitted as full.
And now I'm handing you 53F. Can you tell us what 53F is?
Be marked as submission 088-003-02, torn piece of paper
And is that the torn piece of paper that you found inside of submission 88-3?
on the outside of the bag.
Oh, excuse me, on the outside of the bag.
Yes.
And you know that because of your initials, correct?
That's correct.
And similar to 53E, this was subsequently submitted to biology, and Ms. Christine Roy handled it, correct?
Correct.
I move it in, Judge.
Again, just so that I'm following along, one other question. There were also no fingerprint impressions found on this item, correct?
As a matter of fact, this item wasn't suitable for latent print processing. It appeared to be wet and moldy, so it wasn't suitable to be processed at all.
So you did not even try to look for fingerprints, is that my understanding?
That's correct.
Oh, and then you took that and passed it along to the biology?
That's
to-
true.
To do whatever they were going to do?
True.
I'm not going to object.
53F admitted as full.
Where is Lucy?
You also mentioned that you found black tape inside of submission 88-3?
Yes.
Okay. Was that black tape attached to the bag or detached from the bag?
It was attached to the inside of the bag.
How were you able to remove the black tape?
That area of the bag had been submerged in liquid nitrogen that would freeze the tape and then separate from the bag. And then the tape itself was resubmerged and separated into 10 pieces.
And did you take a photograph of that tape as you found it?
Yes.
Thank you, Sandra Oliver.
This is
Thank you,
photograph
thank
lab 88.3, tape removed. Can you tell the jury what we're looking at here?
This would be the tape that was removed from the inside of the bag and also separated into 10 pieces.
Now, with respect to the bag itself, submission 88-3, did you attempt to develop impressions of value from the bag itself?
Yes.
Were any impressions of value found?
No.
And I believe Attorney Schoenhorn asked you this during his voir dire, but with respect to the piece of cardboard you found and also the torn piece of paper, which were just submitted into evidence, no impressions of value were found on that, correct?
On the cardboard.
And the paper was not suitable, is that
It's not
right?
suitable for analysis, no.
Now, did you also analyze this particular tape?
Yes, I did.
Can you explain to the jury how you analyzed the tape?
Once removed, we processed the adhesive side of the tape with a reagent called a wet wop, which you brush across the surface, rinse off, and we're able to develop 5 areas where impressions were developed.
Oops.
This is photograph entitled Lab 88.3 L1 through L5. KP, sir, can you tell us what we're looking at here?
Certainly. May I get up here?
Yes, sir.
These are documentation photos showing the areas that have been developed with the wet wop reagent. They're marked L1 through L5.
And just for the record, can you point out in these photographs where each latent print was located on the tape?
L1 indicates one impression that was developed. The left side indicates L3, L4, and L2 on the bottom tape.
Okay, and I believe L5 is there as well, correct?
L5 is as well, excuse me.
And so just for the record, this particular photograph actually depicts 3 separate images. L1 was found in the image in the upper right. Sorry, I need stronger glasses. The upper left.
Upper left be L3, L4.
Okay, and the bottom image?
It would be L2 and L5.
All right, very good. And sir, did you, were any of those latent impressions sufficient for comparison purposes?
Yes, 4 of the impressions were, and those were marked L2 through L5. L1 was not sufficient for comparison.
Okay, and did you compare these particular impressions to an individual?
Yes, I did.
Who did you compare them to?
Fotis Dulos.
All right. And I believe you indicated that L1 was insufficient, is that right?
Correct.
All right, so I want to begin by discussing latent impression number 2. This is a photograph entitled Lab 88.3 L2 comparison to Dulos. Can you tell the jury what we're looking at here?
On the left side would be an area that we have developed impressions on the table, which we just saw. On the right side would be the right middle finger off the fingerprint card marked Fotis Dulos.
And did you reach any conclusions with respect to this particular comparison?
This was an inconclusive result between the 2 impressions.
Okay, meaning that you did not have enough to either eliminate or identify, is that right?
Yes, there is a minimal agreement between the black lines, which is the ridge flow, and the red line, where red dots, to correspond to the minimal ridge characteristics. That's due to the quality of the latent impression, where we cannot determine whether it's that source or not.
This is
all right, now I'd like to talk to you
black
about
tape,
latent print number 4 from this particular, or excuse me, latent print number 3 from this particular tape. This is a photograph entitled Lab 88.3 L3 comparison to Dulos. So you did a similar side-by-side comparison here, is that right?
Correct.
And what was your conclusion with respect to this latent impression?
The latent impression marked 88-003 L3, and the right middle finger off the fingerprint card marked Fotis Dulos is an identification.
Now showing you a photograph entitled Lab 88.3 L4 comparison to Dulos. What are we looking at here?
On the left side would be the impression marked 88-003 L4 off of the tape. On the right side will be the left middle finger off the fingerprint card marked Fotis Dulos. Black lines again correspond to the ridge flow that lie in both impressions, and the red dots correspond to the ridge characteristics that lie in both impressions in the same relative area.
And did you reach any conclusions with respect to this?
Yes. 088-003L4 has been identified as the left middle finger off the fingerprint card marked Fotis Dulos.
There we go, another Fotis match.
Now I'd like to show you the photograph entitled Lab 88.3 L5 comparison to Dulos. What are we looking at here?
Again, left side would be the impression developed on the tape marked 88003L5. On the right side will be the left middle finger off the fingerprint card marked Fotis Dulos.
And did you reach any conclusions with respect to this particular comparison?
Yes, 88-003L5 is inconclusive to the left middle finger on the fingerprint card marked Fotis Dulos due to the quality of the latent print.
Thanks, sir. You can see.
So we have Fotis's fingerprints on the stuff
I'm approaching
found
what
in
has been
Latorre
pre-marked for
trash
identification
cans.
purposes as 53A. Let me just show it to you. Show it.
Multiple things.
Judge, I believe I can move this in without objection. 53A is an alpha.
Thank you. 53A admitted as well.
Chicken sounds so good.
Sir, I'm approaching you with what has been entered into evidence.
Oh,
as
I have
stated.
appetite.
53A. Can you tell us what we're looking at here?
This would be lab submission 088-003, L1, L2, L3, L4, pieces of black tape and developed impressions.
And is this the tape in which you developed the 5 impressions that we were just discussing?
Yes.
State trial exhibit number 53A.
This will be an appropriate time to begin it.
Yes, Judge.
Afternoon recess. Ladies
Yes,
and gentlemen, we will return. Let's return at 3:35. Please do not discuss the case.
Afternoon recess. Okay, afternoon recess. So they come back and there's only like 12 minutes from when they come back, and then we're done with day 14. So my plan for today is to try to get through day 14, and then we'll do the first half of 15. And then tomorrow we'll do the second half of day 15, and then day 16 was only a couple of hours. So that's my plan. That way we do 2, it'll still be 2 kind of short days, but we'll be caught up. And then next week we'll just play it by ear. If I am feeling up to it when I get out, then we'll go till we don't feel like it, and if not, then we'll push it and we'll just have to kind of play it by ear. But we should be able to catch up from what we've missed the last 3 days with no problem, since they did short days, 2 of those days.
Can we bring the jury?
Yes, sir.
Somebody mentioned chicken. Daniel mentioned chicken, and now I'm like, ooh, chicken, and that makes me really excited. I have an appetite.
Certain latent impressions that you developed that you identified as belonging to various digits of Mr. Dulos. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Now, you also had reached some conclusions with respect to prints that you determined to be inconclusive with respect to some of Mr. Dulos' digits. Do you recall that as well?
Yes.
When you had an inconclusive result, would you then go on to continue to compare that particular print to other known exemplars?
No, not at that time, not in 2019. We have different protocols that were changed today, but during that time period, no, we would not.
Now, I'm handing you what has been entered into evidence as State Trial Exhibit number 41. I'm just going to ask that you familiarize yourself with number 41 and tell us what it is.
This would be lab submission 96 marked envelope with FedEx mailing envelope.
Okay, sir.
Okay,
Did
the
you examine
FedEx.
these particular items?
Yes, I did.
And what items are contained in this envelope?
1 FedEx envelope and also 2 Connecticut license plates, which appear to be altered.
And would you mind just taking a glove and maybe just removing these items from?
All right, so this is the FedEx envelope and the 2 license plates that had been altered that he put down in that storm drain.
Okay, you're holding right now what appears to be a FedEx envelope. Did you attempt to develop any impressions of value on this envelope?
Yes, I did.
And were you successful in doing so?
No, I was not.
And I want to
No
go direct attention now
fingerprints.
to the license plates contained within this envelope. If you would mind me
Wasn't
just
able to get any.
one out, showing it to the jury. And would you please just display the front of the registration to the jury? You were holding up a Connecticut registration 516 WDJ, is that correct?
Yes.
And when you received this license plate, was it in this condition?
Yes, it was.
Was there any adhesive on this license plate when you received it?
Yes, there are pieces of blue tape.
And were you able to develop any impressions of value from either this license plate or the other license plate?
No, actually, these were unsuitable for latent print processing due to the amount of contamination and residue on the surface.
I think that they were put on the Tacoma while he was driving to New Canaan and back.
Now, those were not the only license plates that you examined in connection with this case, is that correct?
Correct.
If you could go back to this. Are you familiar with lab submissions 97 and 98?
Yes, I am.
What were lab submissions 97 and 98?
They were each Connecticut license plate.
If we could just display lab 97 is the title of the photograph. Can you just indicate to the jury what's depicted in lab 97?
Lab 97 shows the Connecticut license plate marked 6617CN combination.
And did you attempt to develop impressions of value from this license plate?
Yes, I did.
Were you successful in doing so?
No.
And if we can display lab 98? What are we looking at here, sir?
A Connecticut license plate marked 6617CN combination.
And did you attempt to develop impressions of value from this license plate?
Yes.
Were you able to do so?
No.
Did you also examine any garbage can lids in connection with your analysis in this particular case?
Yes, I did.
Where are you going?
And this is in the folder 499A, lab submission 87. This is the photograph entitled lab 87. What are we looking at here, sir?
This shows the garbage can lid that we processed in the latent print section.
And did you attempt to develop impressions of value on this particular garbage can lid?
Yes, we did.
Were you able to do so?
No.
And now, State Police Exhibit number 13, lab submission 101. I'm going to display the photo entitled lab 101. Sir, what are we looking at here?
This is a roll of paper towels.
And can you explain to the jury what you did with this roll of paper towels?
The inner core was removed from the paper towels and processed using hindering, which is a chemical used on porous items. It's exposed to heat and humidity, thus accelerating the reaction, developing impressions that would turn purple. There were no identifiable prints found on this item.
If I could just have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
No identifiable prints on that item. So far we've got
Additional touch.
Thank you.
Fotis on the bag and 2 pieces of tape. And that's it. No Michelle on any of that.
Good afternoon again, sir.
Good afternoon.
You looked at and examined a large number of items, is that correct?
Correct.
In this case. And in order for us to follow along, I had to go through a list, and things were broken down into sub-numbers and subsets for comparison, correct?
Yes.
And in many of the items that you examined, there were no latent prints of any sort there, correct?
On some of them, yes.
And on others, the item itself was not suitable for determining whether there were any prints, either because of its condition or contamination or dampness or another reason that you have testified to, correct?
That's true.
He's so loud.
If an item was, you were shown a couple of items that turned out to be, I think you called it inconclusive, correct?
Yes, I did.
And as I understand your testimony, an inconclusive result does not permit a finding that that fingerprint belongs to any particular person, correct?
Well, you have minimal agreement, but you cannot come to a conclusion as to whether it's that source or not with more information. And you may not have more information due to the quality of the latent print.
But as a scientist, you have certain thresholds that you have to reach before you can say there is a match or partial match with a particular individual, correct?
We do have sufficiency standards in latent prints, yes.
And that's also to avoid misidentification or, for that matter, an injustice, correct?
That's true.
I noticed that in none of the comparisons that you did you mention my client, Michelle Troconis. Is that correct, that you didn't mention her in any of your testimony on direct?
We did conduct a comparison, including Michelle Troconis on lab submission 004, the doorknobs.
So you're talking about, when you say the doorknob, you're talking about the doorknob that had been obtained, I believe, in New Canaan. Is that correct?
I can't recall the location. I just know that is lab submission number 4, 2 doorknobs.
And it was negative. She was excluded as the source, correct?
Correct.
You also mentioned that there were a couple of tests where it was positive for someone named La Tourette, correct?
Correct.
And that was Sergeant La Tourette, or you didn't know that?
I didn't know that.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Oh, it was short.
Mr. Parisi, you may step down. Thank you.
Actually, I'm sorry, I do have to ask permission to ask two more questions.
Of course. I spoke too soon.
Were you asked to compare any of these items to an individual by the name of Pavel Gumieni?
No.
Were you asked to compare any of these items to a person by the name of Kent Momini?
No.
No further questions.
I have nothing additional.
Thank you. You may step down, Mr. Parisi.
All right, that concludes
All
the
right.
state's presentation for today.
Thank you. Attorney McGinnis, what?
All right, that's it for day 14. Look at us go. Look at us go. We are moving right along. So my plan, this is great. This is great. Moving right along. Day 15 morning is about 3 hours. That's without the break. There's 2.5 hours, and that's listening to it. If it were regular time, we'll do 1.25 speed and then skip the breaks, of course. So we'll do day 15 morning, and then tomorrow we'll do day 15 afternoon, and then day 16, which was only a couple hours in the morning. They let out really early, so then that'll give us 2 short days, and we'll be caught up. Woohoo! All right, are we ready? Let's get it going.
Sort of discern what's important or not. But my point, I think, should be they don't know until the court gives instructions for it. And I recognize what Your Honor did say yesterday about, this jury can sort of discern what's important or not. But my point, I think, should be they don't know until the court gives instructions what's important and what's not. So, I mean, I've never been a juror. I've done mock trials and I've been a mock juror. But when you're spending a month and there's going to be hundreds of exhibits perhaps before we're done, if the jury doesn't at least have an idea of what's not important, rather than going through each item, I'm asking that the court exercise some discretion to limit that type of testimony, because by the time this jury is done, they're going to be dealing with items. They have to go through everything. The court's going to instruct the jury, I assume. They have to review everything and make before they deliberate, and how they do that is up to them. But they're going to obviously be some people want to go through every single item. We could be here. It could be a week before they even get to the point of saying, now we're going to start deliberating. That's my concern. After they get the case.
Well, the court is always interested in efficiency. However, just to use a musical analogy, if the state wants to use 4 quarter notes per bar instead of 1/8 notes or 16th notes, the court is not going to interfere with its style. However, if counsel for the state and the defense come to some agreement as to whether there would be objections if there were offers of exhibits that ran as a chain, the court would certainly encourage counsel to discuss that.
Well, in that vein, Your Honor, I'll note that yesterday, Mr. McGinnis and I reached an agreement. There's that unrelated white, he can correct me if I'm misstating, the white T-shirt, the Hanes extra large white T-shirts that's shown in some of the photographs.
This is probably the only thing that I've ever actually agreed with him on. He's saying that with there being so much evidence, having some of the stuff that yesterday as in a few minutes ago, yesterday from this day, all that stuff that we just went through, we went through all those bags when it was like, did you do this? Did you do this? Yes. Did you do this process? Yes. Were there anything on it? No. We went through that for all of those things. So he's saying he says in order not to confuse the jury. I think it's not really about confusing the jury. In my opinion, it's just about efficiency, like the judge said. But saying items, 15 through 30 were all tested and nothing of evidence came out of it, like no fingerprints, and then just get to the stuff that actually had fingerprints on it. To me, I think that's great, because Lord knows that this is like pulling teeth and it's taking a long time. But the judge is saying, you know, if that's his style and he wants to do it that way, you know, then that's how he's not going to impede on his style of how he presents things.
It's found in one of the trash barrels. The state and the defense are going to stipulate, I don't know if you wanted to do it in writing or just verbally, because we talked about it, that it has nothing to do with the case and we don't have to go further into it, that it was determined to be unrelated, however, which way we're going to phrase it. But we did that. That's only one item. You know, we're dealing with dozens, if not scores of items that are ending up not having any evidentiary value. That's my concern.
Yes, Your Honor. Actually, speaking of agreements, I did prepare a stipulation with respect to some of the evidence which has been seized, which was shown to Attorney Schoenhorn yesterday. He requested a single amendment, which I made, and so I'm asking that he and Attorney Felsen review this and hopefully sign it so that we can begin publishing it to the jury forthwith. And
Okay, good.
I'm giving him a copy of the proposed photographs that I'm going to be using with Ms. Roy today. He already has these photographs, Your Honor, but I'm giving him the specific ones that are going to be used.
Thank you.
So if they're preparing the stipulation,
At some point last night, I did go through the draft that Mr. McGinnis gave me, so I'm going to need to chat to him about one of the items on this list. So before that is offered, I don't know if it's better if we do it now or we do it at the break. I don't know what Your Honor prefers.
Well, if we will not get to it before the break, the court would prefer that be discussed at the break.
As with the state, Your Honor, we do anticipate, however, and it's Attorney Manning's witness, so I certainly don't want to speak for her, but my understanding is that the next witness will be not terribly long, and so I don't think that she's going to be taking us to the first break. So we could discuss it now. I could go downstairs and perhaps make an amendment, but without having to bring the jury in and out.
How much time do you need, Attorney McGinnis?
I don't know what Attorney Schoenhorn's referring to, so.
May I just have a moment, Mr.
Yes.
McGinnis, now?
this, like, if they can prepare a stipulation for that, that would make things so much easier. And the prosecutor said he's
Judge,
prepared
there were,
one.
a set of keys which were identified as State Police Exhibit 502GG. You'll recall, Your Honor, I believe it was a week and a half ago that Attorney Manning attempted to introduce a physical copy of those keys. Now, the physical copy of the keys, the actual keys, were not received as an exhibit by the court. The court excluded it, I believe, based on relevance grounds. However, a photograph of 502GG was displayed to the jury. 502GG was swabbed by the police department and went for forensic DNA testing. Ultimately, I don't think that there was any profile found on it, but I included it in the stipulation because it was tested. So it's unclear to the state whether or not the court was simply precluding the physical exhibit or whether or not the court was precluding any and all mention of 502GG. So if the court was precluding any and all reference to that, I can certainly take that out of the stipulation.
Well, the concern for the court at the time of the offer was that the officer who retrieved the keys gave no reason for retrieving the keys. So the court the court found that the keys themselves were not relevant. So at this point, the representation is that there was no profile developed from the keys.
Correct.
There need be no discussion of the keys.
Yes, Judge. So with that, I can make that amendment very quickly. Either, would you like me to do that now?
Did you need to do it in writing? Or no?
These stips are in writing, and as I said, if that comes out, I'm prepared, along with Attorney Felsen, to sign the stipulation.
So would you have to go downstairs and basically amend the document?
It should take me 5.
Why don't we come back at, do you think you would be ready at 10:20?
I do, Judge.
Come back at 10:20. We'll take a recess.
All rise. This honorable Superior Court now stands in recess until 10:20.
I had to turn it down because he was yelling in the microphone, and now they're quiet again.
That's fine. Sure.
Attorney McGinnis, review the stipulation.
I haven't had a chance to review it yet, Your Honor, but it's just one paragraph being deleted, so.
I'll take him at his word, Your Honor.
Thank you. We can therefore bring in the jury, please.
Running the jury. Sandra Oliver gets to the membership. Thank you, Sandra Oliver. It went to Ohio Lisa.
Your Honor, the state would call Sydney Streeter to the stand, please.
Will this be technical testimony?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra.
Can you please
Ooh,
raise
I
your
like
right
those
hand?
leather pants.
Do you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name and spell it for the record.
My name is Sydney Streeter, Sidnee. Streeter, Streeter.
Okay, you may be seated.
Really pretty. Sandra, get you another membership.
Good morning, Ms. Streeter.
Good morning.
Iris D.
Ms. Streeter, in 2019, were you employed as a parenting supervisor?
Yes, I was.
What does a parenting supervisor do?
So my role is to monitor the interactions between the parent and the children to assure that they're appropriate and to provide parenting skills when needed.
With respect to, well, can you describe some of your training and educational background that qualifies you to be a parenting supervisor?
Yes, I received my bachelor's degree in social work at Southern Connecticut State University, and then I received my master's in social work at Fordham University in New York, and I am also a licensed social worker.
She's really pretty.
Were you acting as a parenting supervisor to Fotis Dulos on May 22nd, 2019?
Yes.
What were the specific requirements of the court order with respect to his visitation with his children that day?
I was to maintain a line of sight, and he was supposed to be within earshot of me. Fotis was not allowed to be on Jennifer's property until the supervisor was present for the visit. He also was supposed to leave prior to the supervisor leaving at the end of the visit.
Was he allowed into her residence?
He was not allowed into the residence.
When you say property, do you mean 69 Wells?
Yes.
Have you ever supervised Fotis Dulos with his children before that day?
No.
Do you know who did?
Yes, my supervisor.
And who is that?
Dennis Puebla.
For May 22nd, 2019, what time was the visitation supposed to start?
3:30.
Was there a specific plan or itinerary for that day?
Yes.
Why was that?
It was a request from Jennifer.
Was there a requirement for an itinerary to be approved prior to every visitation, to your knowledge?
Yes.
And was the itinerary in set for May 22nd, 2019?
Yes.
What was it?
They discussed going to Grace Farms to play basketball with the children, and then also to have cake with the children back at the home.
That would be only Fotis Dulos and the children, or would Jennifer be involved in this as well?
If she pleased.
Did she please? Was she involved at all?
No, she was not involved.
What time did you arrive at 69 Wells Lane?
About.
Remember, this is the point where he said it was that Wednesday before, and he, because of the holiday weekend or whatever, the park that he had taken them to, or he was going to take them to, or normally take them to, or whatever, closed early. So he left there and came to the house. And remember, this is where Laura, because I know this has been a while, because it's like 3 weeks in now. But the nanny, Lauren, said that she, her and Jennifer went and like locked all the back doors so that Fotis would have no way of getting in, because he was coming over to have cake out back with the kids, and she didn't want him to be able to get inside anyway. So that's this day that they're talking about.
25.
Who was present when you arrived?
Jennifer was present, and the children were present as well.
Where were they?
They were in the driveway playing basketball.
Jean, thank you for gifting
the children. How many children?
5.
Was this your first time meeting them?
Yes.
What were they doing?
They were playing basketball, their new basketball hoop.
Were the garage doors of the residence open when they were playing basketball when you arrived?
I don't recall.
Was Fotis Dulos on scene?
No.
Did you see him arrive?
Yes.
What was he driving?
Black Suburban.
What was his initial interaction with the children like?
Pretty friendly.
What did you observe about their interaction? What did they do?
They noticed that Fotis had a new haircut. They joked about it, and then they all jumped on him and rubbed his head.
Did he bring anything with him?
Yes.
What did he bring with him?
Food, candy, and cake.
How long was the visit supposed to last?
3 hours.
And were you supposed to and required to be there for the entire 3 hours?
Yes.
In his line of sight, or he in your line of sight?
He in my line of sight.
And within earshot?
Yes.
So he was not allowed to have any unsupervised contact with these children during your time there that day?
No.
Now,
Thank you, Sandra Oliver.
You indicated he brought food?
Yes.
What food did he bring?
Bread and salad.
What did he do anything with the food when he first got there?
The food he kept in the trunk. However, with the cake, he did ask Jennifer if she could put it in the refrigerator.
What kind of cake was it?
I don't recall.
Did he give the cake to Jennifer?
Yes.
What did you watch Jennifer do?
She walked away with the cake.
Did she come
into
back?
the home, and then she came back without the cake.
Do you know what she did with the cake?
I can't say.
Okay. Did you go in the house with her?
No.
Did you ever enter the house that day?
No.
When she came back out after bringing the cake inside, what happened next?
Jennifer wanted to confirm the itinerary for the day and what time Fotis will be back from Grace Farms with the children.
Did he indicate a time he would be back with the children?
He said around 6:15 p.m.
Why that time?
I'm not sure.
You also mentioned, I think, was there any other food that he had?
He had candy. He had chocolate bunnies for the children.
And was there any interaction between him and Jennifer with respect to the candy?
Yes, when Fotis pulled out the chocolate bunnies and offered it to the children, Jennifer expressed that she eats chocolate every day. So Fotis said, maybe one of the children would like to sacrifice one of their chocolate bunnies for you. And he ripped off a piece of one of them and gave it to Jennifer.
Did you see her eat it?
I did.
Were their interaction at that time, how would you describe it?
It was pretty amicable.
Did they shake hands?
No.
Did they hug each other?
No.
Did they touch in any way?
No.
And was it the one chocolate he handed her and she ate, and that was it?
Yes.
Did you drive with them to Grace?
Okay, she just said it's the one chocolate that he handed her and she ate. Remember when the defense attorney was talking to the DNA guy and he was like, so if somebody were to hand chocolate, then their DNA could be on that chocolate. And then if somebody else touched the chocolate and then touched something else, then the DNA could be taken off the chocolate and onto that. So the attorney just made a point right there to say that there's only one piece of chocolate that was broken off and handed to her and she ate it.
Grace Farms?
Yes.
And that was Fotis and how many children?
3 of the children, I believe.
And what is Grace Farms?
What is Grace Farms?
Yes. What kind of place is it?
It's like a recreational center.
Where is it?
I don't recall.
Is it in New Canaan?
Yes, I believe it's in the New Canaan area.
What did you do at Grace Farms with Fotis and the children?
They just played basketball on the basketball court.
And what's your role at this time?
Just observing, assuring that the interactions are appropriate.
And at some point, did you return back to 69 Wells?
Yes.
Around what time did you return to 69 Wells?
Around 6:20.
By the way, do you go in his car with the children?
Yes, I sit in the front passenger seat.
Okay. And maintain that line of sight?
Yes.
Okay. When you returned to 69 Wells, did you see Jennifer on the property?
I did not.
And what did Fotis and the children and yourself do after you returned to 69 Wells?
We prepared to eat at the picnic table.
Where was the picnic table located?
In the backyard.
Did anybody enter the house at this time? Any of the children?
Yes.
Do you recall who entered the house?
Christiane.
Why did she enter the house?
Fotis asked her to see if Jennifer wanted to join them to eat.
And was Jennifer on the property or on the house?
Christiane expressed that she was not.
And what about the food they had for dinner? Where did that come from?
So Fotis brought the food with him and it was sitting in his trunk. And that's what they ate.
On the picnic table in the back patio?
Yes.
What about any plates or napkins or anything like that? Do you recall how that was set up?
He asked the children to bring stuff from out of the house.
And did they?
Yes.
Did he ever enter the house at any point while you were eating dinner?
No.
Did he ever leave your line of sight?
No.
What about the cake? Who was the cake for?
I don't recall.
And at some point, did you eat the cake?
Did I? No, I did not.
Well, did the children and Fotis Dulos eat the cake?
Yes.
And how did the cake get from the house back to outside?
I don't recall.
Did Fotis go inside to get it?
No, he did not.
Did Jennifer come down and bring the cake out?
No, she did not.
Did one of the children?
I believe so.
Now, after dinner was completed, how did the items for dinner at the picnic table get cleaned up? Do you remember?
The children cleaned it.
Did Fotis do any of that?
He just gathered the things on the picnic table, but he did not bring anything inside.
Okay. And what did you do then?
What did we do then?
Yes, after the dinner was done, after the cake was done, was there still time left in his visitation?
Yes, and the children went back to the basketball hoop and began playing basketball again.
How many children at this point?
4.
When he went back and the children went back to playing basketball, did you maintain that line of sight?
Yes.
Were the garage doors open?
One of the garage doors was open.
Do you recall which garage door?
The garage door closest to the street.
Was there a vehicle inside that door or that
Yes.
garage bag?
Yes.
Do you know what vehicle it was?
I don't recall.
Did you see Jennifer at this point?
Yes.
Where did she come from?
I don't know.
Okay. Was she inside the residence?
She was near the garage.
She was near the
so I can
garage?
assume that's where she came from.
And did she interact with Fotis Dulos at that time?
No, her interaction was mostly with the children.
And with respect to their interaction with each other, at any point in the rest of the night prior to the visit being done, did Fotis and Jennifer ever touch?
Not
Ever
that I
shake
recall.
hands?
No.
Were they cordial with each other at that time?
Yes.
Okay. And at some point, did Fotis Dulos leave 69 Wells?
Yes.
Were you still present on the property when he left?
Yes.
Do you recall around what time that was?
A little after 7:37, closer to 7:40.
So just to be clear, this was the first time you had supervised the children and been there?
Yes.
Okay. And you did not see Fotis Dulos enter the house or the garage at any point during that interaction?
I did not.
Nothing further. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Lord, here we go.
Good morning, Ms. Streeter.
Good morning.
My name is John Schoenhorn. I represent Michelle Troconis in this case. You don't know who she is, right?
No.
Never met her?
No, I have not.
So I understand that you have a master's in social work, correct?
Yes.
And you were, on that occasion, on May 22nd, 2019, acting as a parenting supervisor, correct?
Yes.
Now, you also have your own social work practice now, correct?
I do not.
You do not. You work for other social workers who have their own practice?
Yes.
And in May of 2019, were you working for Dennis Pueblo?
Yes, I was. As an independent contractor.
You were a contract employee with Mr. Pueblo, correct?
Yes.
So you might have individuals that you would supervise specifically, correct? Yeah, I think.
Yes.
Just because everything's being taken down, they won't hear the or a nod, okay? So that's why the way it works here is you have to say something verbally, okay? But and sometimes when Mr. Pueblo was not available, you might fill in for him, correct?
This was the first time.
Well, it was the first time. Did you believe the withdrawn? In order to be able to effectively supervise, you would have to consult with Mr. Pueblo about what's going on with the particular dynamic in the divorce case, right?
Not necessarily.
Were you at least given some general parameters about whether this was a generally friendly or a contentious divorce?
Objection. Calls for hearsay.
It's not being offered for the truth, it's being offered to how this witness would have then responded and interacted.
Well, the testimony on direct examination is that this witness conducted the supervision on May 22nd. There was no direct examination as to whether she was briefed on the background of the marriage or the pending divorce. So in this court's view, it's beyond the scope.
I believe the objection was hearsay. Does the court?
Well, if the state is claiming hearsay, that's overruled.
I would add beyond the scope as well, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Thank you.
Have you been involved as a parenting supervisor on other occasions?
Yes.
And could you explain to the jury why is there a need for a parenting supervisor in a case?
Would object, Your Honor.
Well, the question really is, what does a parenting supervisor do? And that leads to the reasons parenting supervisors are used, so overruled.
You can answer the question.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. What is the role or purpose of a parenting supervisor in a case?
The role is to assure that the interactions between the parent and the children are appropriate.
Why is there, according to whom?
According to my observations.
But what is the role, where is the need for the role of a parenting supervisor come from?
It was determined within court as a suggestion or request of a parent.
What kind of court proceeding would that involve?
Objection.
Beyond the scope. Sustained.
Would this be in a custody court matter?
Objection.
Well, The defense is now trying to pry open a door that was not opened on direct. Sustained.
Does everybody need a parenting supervisor in their interaction?
Objection.
Well, the testimony so far is that at the request of a parent, a parenting supervisor may be required for visitation. So the question now is, does everyone need a parenting supervisor? The obvious answer is no, if there's no request of the parent.
So any parent can request a parenting supervisor on their own against a spouse or a other parent?
Objection.
Beyond the scope, sustained.
I just want to be clear. A parenting supervisor is a court-ordered position, isn't it?
Yes.
All right. And you received your bachelor's in social work, is that right?
Yes.
As well as your master's in social work, right?
Yes.
And you had that prior to May of 2019, correct?
Yes.
As part of your job, as I understand your answer to the question, part of your instructions were to remain in line of sight of Mr. Dulos and the children at all times?
Yes.
Where did that instruction come from?
That's a part of my role as a parenting supervisor.
And again, you're a licensed social worker, correct?
Yes.
And your job is to observe the interaction, right?
Yes.
And as part of that, you have to prepare a report, correct?
Objection.
Well, what's
Lack
the
of
ground?
foundation with respect to the May 22nd. It's also outside the scope.
Well, the question is, do you prepare a report about what you observed on May 22nd or in any parenting supervision environment? Overruled.
Yes, documentation is required for all social work positions.
And that documentation is done very rapidly after the visitation, is that correct?
Yes.
And is that something you know is presented to the court?
Not always.
But it's prepared as part of your job and as your business as a parenting supervisor, correct?
I am required to document my observations.
And when you say required by what or whom?
From my supervisor.
And how quickly would you have documented that?
Within 24 hours.
And then that is presented and submitted to the supervisor, in this case, Mr. Puebla's office?
Yes.
Would it be part of your requirement that you be as accurate and as detailed as possible to document everything that you observed?
Yes.
And is it part of your job then to prepare such a report?
Yes.
This guy. He's so much.
Do you have a copy?
Sure.
Where's the rest of it?
Marcus, Q for identification. Can you tell us whether you recognize that document?
Yes, I recognize this document.
What is it?
This is my note that I submitted to my supervisor from May 22nd.
And that contains all the information regarding your observations of the interaction between Mr. Dulos and the children?
This is not all of it, but this is some of it.
There was more to it than that?
Yes.
I just have a moment, Your Honor.
What'd you do with the rest of it? Shoehorn? Shoehorn.
I'm gonna check on that. There's like another, part of a page?
I think it was 3 pages long.
Okay. I'll have that checked in a second. Let me ask you some other questions in the interim. So you said that when Mr. Dulos arrived, the children were playing basketball. Is that correct?
Yes.
You observed them run over to their father when he drove in?
Yes.
And you indicated that he had sort of a short haircut at that point?
Yes.
And I think you testified just a few minutes ago, they were all like rubbing his head. Like, could you just demonstrate what they were all doing?
Like literally just like rubbing his head.
All of them?
Yeah.
And we just letting them do that?
Yes.
And did they like or not like that haircut?
Seriously?
I can't completely say, but I can say that they were indifferent.
Okay. But they were certainly, there was hair there that they were all rubbing, right?
Yes.
Short hair?
Yes.
Like a crew cut? If
don't
you
know
know
what
what
I don't know what a crew cut is.
Okay. That's one of those, I don't think anybody gets those anymore. In any event, they then played basketball with their father, right?
Yes.
They were all laughing and having fun, right?
Yes.
And they were all playing with the basketball together?
Yes.
And the hoop was one of these basketball hoops that's installed in the driveway?
Yes.
And I'm just going to ask my, if I could just step over here for a second.
I try so hard not to dislike this guy, but man. Red Pen, thank you. Get yourself some DoorDash chicken and maybe some ice cream. Love you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you.
I'm going to wait a moment. I'm having my tech person find an image to show you the basketball hoop. But in any event, the basketball hoop was in the driveway, correct?
Yes.
Sort of across from the garage doors, right?
Yes.
And they were all playing, including the younger children?
I don't recall.
But in any event, how many of the children did you observe playing?
At the start of the visit, all 5 of the children. At the start of the visit, 5.
Okay, and how long were they playing basketball?
Until they left for Grace Farms.
You did indicate, I believe, that at one point there was a chocolate cake that was taken out of the trunk of the Mr. Dulos' vehicle, correct?
There was a cake. I do not recall if the cake was chocolate.
Okay.
One of the children asked if it were a chocolate cake.
And you don't recall what the answer was?
I don't recall what the answer was.
Was it in a box?
I don't recall what it was in.
Was it loose?
It was covered.
It was covered?
Yes.
And was that cake handed specifically to somebody?
Yes.
And that was handed to Jennifer Dulos, right, who took it?
Yes.
And did she take it into the house?
I believe so.
Do you see where she took it into the house?
No, I did not.
Did you see whether she went through the garage?
I don't recall.
Okay. After Miss Dulos took the cake into the house, did she say anything about one of the children and whether the child could go with them to Grace Park?
Yes.
What did she say?
She mentioned that one of the children had other activities and they would not be able to attend.
Was that a lacrosse game?
I don't recall.
Or a lacrosse practice?
I don't recall.
Would looking at your report assist you in refreshing your recollection on that point?
I know that there was a lacrosse practice at the end of the visit.
But you don't know if that was the activity that one of the children had that would preclude that child from going to Grace Park?
Correct.
Okay. And just for the record, I mean, I'm calling it Grace Park, it's Grace Farms, right?
Yes.
Is it still a park?
I have no idea.
Did you go with them to Grace Farms?
Yes.
And what kind of activities are there?
I can't really say. We just focused on the basketball court.
There was a basketball court at the Grace Farms?
Yes, indoor.
I'm sorry,
It was an indoor basketball court.
Indoor. And did all the children participate in that activity?
Yes.
Now, while...
Except for the one that wasn't able
I didn't mean
to.
to interrupt. Except for the one that wasn't there.
Right.
Fair enough. When you observed
For those of y'all asking what the big deal is with the cake, it's the same thing. He's making this big point of how Fotis had this cake and this food or whatever, and he had it in his hands, and then he handed it to Jennifer Dulos, who took it inside. So he's like insinuating that, like from that other questioning that he did a while back too, where he's saying that touch DNA that they found inside the house that belonged to Fotis could have been there because it transferred from the cake to Jennifer Dulos, and then from Jennifer Dulos to the faucet and the door handle. So he's basically trying to explain away Fotis Dulos DNA being inside by saying it could have gotten there through the cake, or it could have gotten there through the salad or whatever. I mean, he's shooting his shot, I guess.
Activity and the interaction between Mr. Dulos and his wife, you said it appeared cordial to you, correct?
Yes, amicable, yes.
Amicable, right? They were talking in a normal tone?
Yes.
They were conversing in what you'd consider on normal topics?
Yes.
They were interacting in a friendly manner?
I would say so.
In other words, it appeared to you they were getting along. Isn't that true?
Yes.
You did say that you were in the line of sight of Mr. Dulos at all times, correct?
Correct.
How far away from him were you at all times?
Not far at all.
As far as you are from me or farther than that?
That was probably the largest distance.
So if I were to estimate that we're about maybe 10, 12 feet apart, would that be about the farthest you were ever away?
Yes.
So you were able to not only witness his interaction with others that afternoon, but also hear what he was saying, right?
Yes.
And you were able to hear what the children were saying, right?
Yes.
And what Jennifer Dulos was saying, right?
Yes.
The children did get into his car, right?
Yes.
They went to Grace Farms?
Yes.
And then they came back in the car about 6:15, am I correct?
Around 6:20, yes.
You arrived at 4:30 that afternoon, right?
No.
What time did you arrive?
I arrived at 3:25.
3:25?
Sorry, 4:25.
4:25.
Sorry.
And Mr. Dulos, you said, came a little bit after that?
Yes.
That you observed?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And in any event, there was, when they got back to the house, the children got out of the Suburban?
Yes.
That's Mr. Dulos' Suburban?
Yes.
Right? Chevy Suburban?
Yes.
Now, remember, she said that she got there at 4:25 and that Fotis got there a little bit after that. But remember, he originally showed up at 4 o'clock. He was half an hour early. And that was really, really weird for him. And the nanny even said something about how that was crazy weird for him because he never shows up on time. He's late for everything, and he showed up early. So he got there, pulled up into the driveway, and then apparently then left again and came back when the supervisor was there.
Mr. Dulos got out?
Yes.
He had a pair of shoes for one of the children, right?
Are you referring to the beginning of the visit or when we came back from Grace Farms?
The question is, do you recall Mr. Dulos giving a gift to one of his children of a pair of shoes?
Yes.
And was that before or after being at Grace
Before.
Farms? That was before?
Before.
Okay. And just for the record, do you recall that this was some kind of special event or day for one of the children?
I believe it was around a birthday.
Was it, I'm not that familiar with Greek
celebration.
Orthodox naming day, but was it actually was that the celebration, a naming day?
It could be.
Are you familiar with that tradition in the Greek culture of having naming day being the day your Greek saint is the name of their child?
I am not familiar with
Okay. But in any event, you do recall that child got a gift of shoes, right?
Yes.
And it was some kind of athletic shoes, was it not?
I believe it was a pair of Vans.
Vans, okay. And then the child put one on and was playing with two different kinds of shoes, right?
Yes.
Okay. You do remember that?
Yes, I do.
You had mentioned also on direct something about a chocolate Easter bunny. Do you remember that testimony a little bit ago?
I do.
So where did the Easter bunnies come from?
From Fotis' car.
Do you also know that the Greek Easter or the Eastern Orthodox Easter is a different date than what I call on the Roman calendar?
Objection. Relevance.
Relevance, counsel.
It's only to set, it's just a little bit of leeway so that we can just set up the scenario why there would be chocolate Easter bunnies.
Well, the question could simply be, do you know the reason there would be chocolate Easter bunnies?
Do you know that the reason that there was chocolate Easter bunnies because it was the
Objection.
celebration of Greek Easter?
Well, the court is going to allow that question.
I do not.
Okay, but in any event, there were chocolate Easter bunnies for each of those children, right?
Yes.
And at that point, Jennifer Dulos was standing there, right?
Yes.
And she said that she liked to eat chocolate every day. Isn't that what she said?
Yes, she did.
And in response to that, Mr. Dulos, in your earshot, said, as I understand it, maybe one of the children would sacrifice their bunny for you, correct?
Correct.
And at that point, Mr. Dulos broke off a piece of...
Hold on. Lucy's got an Easter bunny. Look. She's got her Easter bunny down here. See?
the Easter bunny?
Yes.
Now, are these those tall chocolate Easter bunnies that are maybe, 8 or 10 inches tall that you can see at the supermarket at around Easter time?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that they were 8 inches tall, but
6 inches?
Yeah.
They're not little tiny things.
Yeah, yes.
Right? And you can break off the ears sometimes?
Yes.
And you saw him do that, break off part of the Easter bunny?
I did.
And you saw him hand it to his wife, right?
Yes.
And you saw her take that chocolate in her hand, right?
Yes.
And put it in her mouth.
Yes.
You said that at some point, she then went back into the house, right?
Yes.
Did you eat it? chocolate Easter bunny then?
I was not offered any.
You did or did not?
I was not offered any.
You were not offered. Were there not enough?
Objection.
Oh my
I'll
God.
withdraw that question. In any event, there was some discussion between Mr. Dulos and wife about the placement of the basketball hoop, correct?
Yes.
And that he complimented her on the location of where it had been installed?
Yes.
And he liked the fact it had a safety shield behind it?
Yes.
It's my understanding that when the children came back with Mr. Dulos, there had been apparently the Grace Farms had closed early because of the Memorial Day weekend. Is that correct?
I do not recall.
You remember the original plan was that they would have the picnic and the food that he had brought at the park.
That was not my understanding.
Well, where was it supposed to take place?
He was going to eat out of his trunk.
Eat out of the trunk of the Suburban?
Yes.
And at that point, Jennifer offered, why don't you use the picnic table on the back deck, right, or the back of the house, right?
Yes.
It was her suggestion, right?
Yes.
And I'm going to show you, you went there with them, correct?
Yes.
I'm so annoyed by his questioning.
I'm going to show you an image which I have to say I don't remember which. It's been offered. It's a state's exhibit. I would have to go find it, which one it is. But I'm going to show you an image from the house and just see if you recognize the location. Could you turn on this one, please? I'll just identify what it is. It was early on in the case, and I have to go through my notes to find the specific state's exhibit. So it's Exhibit 9, State's Exhibit 9. You recognize that house being the 69 Wells Lane house that you acted as a supervisor on May 22, 2019?
Yes.
And although it's not in this image, and I was hoping it would be, the basketball hoop was off to the left, correct?
Yes.
And that would be, the hoop and the backboard would be facing the garage, correct?
Yes.
And that's the garage you said you saw a black vehicle when the garage door was open, right?
I don't recall.
Well, I'm not asking about the specific garage door.
Okay.
One of those garage doors was open, so you saw the vehicle in there, right?
Yes.
Okay. You don't remember what kind of vehicle it was, though?
Some type of truck.
I couldn't hear you.
Some type of truck. I don't recall exactly.
Some kind of a truck or SUV or
Yes,
something?
yes.
Okay. In any event, I'm going to have you observe a certain part of the backyard. This is the backyard of the house?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to zoom in on a section there. Is this the table in the area where you observed where the outdoor picnic took place?
Yes.
Were chairs brought out so there were enough seats for all the children and Mr. Dulos? And you?
There were enough seats.
There were. In order to, Mr. Dulos, I believe, brought, did he bring a salad?
Yes.
Did he bring other food?
Salad and bread.
And bread. Was this when you say a salad, was it like a big salad with lots of stuff in it?
Yes.
Did you have any of that?
I did not.
Were you offered any of that?
Yes.
Okay, you didn't want any?
No, I did not.
The children ate on plates, isn't that right?
I do not recall.
The children used utensils, correct?
Yes.
One or more of the children went in to get those utensils, right?
Yes.
And did they bring out drinks or cups or anything so they could have something to drink?
I don't recall.
They weren't just drinking bottles of pop or soda, were they?
I don't recall what they were drinking.
Okay. How long was the festivities, the meal part of the space, do you recall?
Not specifically.
Was it true, though, that about 6:15 is when they came back and ate with the children?
Yes.
And that the children ate rather with Mr. Dulos?
Yes.
Is that correct? And the event itself, that is the visit ended around 7:30, isn't that right?
A little after 7:30.
And you watched Mr. Dulos leave?
Yes.
And you left immediately after that?
Yes.
The entire interaction between Mr. Dulos and his wife was cordial as far as you observed, correct?
Yes.
And they talked in a normal tone?
Yes.
You indicated that you thought at one point Miss Dulos had to leave for an event for one of the children, is that correct?
Yeah, she had to bring one of the children to lacrosse.
She had to bring the child to lacrosse. Did you happen to note the time she left or not?
It is noted in the rest of my note.
Okay, you don't have that in
That's
front
not
of you?
here.
Okay, you don't recall?
I don't recall.
But you do recall that you did come back at some point, right?
Yes.
At no point while Ms. Dulos was there did he ask to go in the house for any reason?
No, he did not.
At no point after she departed did he seek or ask to go in for any reason, right?
No.
You didn't see him walking around the property away from the children, into looking at windows and stuff?
No.
There was normal conversation with the children about what they were doing in school, right?
Yes.
What they were learning in school?
Yes.
There was talk about water skiing,
Yes.
and the kids were asking what they would get to do on the weekend, right?
Yes.
'Cause you knew that there was a plan that he was going to have the children on the weekend, right?
I did not.
You did not know?
No.
Did you know that was any discussion about what they were going to do in your presence?
Not that I recall.
Okay. So I just have a moment.
Look. Sitting on my desk. He's like, it's like pulling teeth with him. You're so pretty. Hey, you're so pretty. You're very smart. You're so pretty.
Edification, I found the full report, and I'm just getting it downloaded and printed so that we don't have to.
Full report. He asks so many questions that are already answered. He goes over the same stuff over and over and over. It drives me nuts. Over and over and over.
Can I just have that document back, please, for a second?
Yes, you may.
Why are you staring at me? Be fast. Oh my gosh, how long does this take?
The wonders of modern technology, Ms. Streeter. I'm going to now hand you back Exhibit Q and see if this is the complete report that you indicated that you had.
Yes, this is the full report.
It includes all the details of your visit as required by your assignment and your job.
Yes.
I'm going to offer it, Your Honor. All 3 pages as a full exhibit.
It's been 86 years.
Your Honor, I'm assuming counsel, based on counsel's questions, he's offering it as a business record.
Yes.
State has no objection based on that representation.
And what would be the letter, please?
Q, I believe, that's exhibit Q.
R.
No, it's part of the same exhibit. It's just pages 2 and 3 of the same exhibit.
Well, it's easier for the clerk to have 2 exhibit letters, correct? Q and R?
Well, if we just take it off and fix it.
Well, let me, if I could just have it to show the clerk how I stapled it. Okay. 3 pages exhibit.
I'm really blurry. Hold on, let me see if I can fix it.
It's okay this way.
Yeah, it's good.
What is the letter? Defense Q admitted as a full exhibit.
And I'm just going to show the jury, this is your 3-page, I'll just stand here, make it easier. This is a 3-page report, correct?
Not fixing.
Yes.
Oh, well.
All right, and the last page does have your typed name at the bottom, correct?
Yes.
And it also mentions Dennis Cradler below. Did he have to co-sign?
Yes.
He did, okay. As the supervisor?
Yes.
So I just have a few more questions then. After they finished eating, did somebody bust the table and clean up?
Yes.
They bring whatever was left over into the house?
Yes.
They brought all the utensils into the house?
Yes.
Mr. Dulos did not go into the house, correct?
Correct.
The children brought everything in, right?
Yes.
By the way, did you see any other adults there besides Mr. Dulos and Miss Dulos and yourself?
I did not. I did not.
Incidentally, because I didn't ask that specific question, Green's Farm closed at 6 that night, correct?
I'm not sure.
You don't recall?
I do not.
If I show you your report again, might it refresh your recollection on that point?
It may.
I'll just ask you to, may I approach, Judge?
Yes.
I'll just ask you to look at the last sentence, last line rather, on page 2 of the first paragraph, and see if that refreshes your recollection.
Yes.
Okay. And what time then? Did that refresh your recollection?
Yes.
What time did the park close?
6 p.m.
And you said that they then, at 6:15, were back at 69 Wells Lane, correct?
Yes.
Oh, it's the same stuff over and over.
There was also some discussion, you said salad, there was also bread, I think?
Well, counsel, before you proceed,
Yes.
the state has elected not to object, but where is this going?
I'm sorry, Your Honor?
We've heard about salad 3 times. Where is this going?
I'm asking about other things that were being eaten.
It's already in evidence, counsel, as a full exhibit. Are you going to go through every line of the document?
Well, I was certainly going to go through some of it, yes, Your Honor.
You can proceed.
Judge said we've heard about salad 3
There was
times.
bread that was eaten, correct?
Correct.
It was passed around, right?
Yes.
Then there was the cake. Somebody went in and brought the cake out, correct?
Oh
Yes.
my God.
Cake was cut up and shared among the children?
Yes.
And Mr. Dulos?
Yes.
Were you offered a piece of cake?
I don't recall.
Did you have one?
No, I did not.
You did not, okay. In any event, they were playing like word games and stuff as well at the table?
Yes.
And at one point, I think you testified on direct, Ms. Dulos came back out onto the back patio, isn't that right, around 7:07?
7:07, yes.
And that's noted in your report, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Dulos told his wife that he was going to leave half the cake for the children and the one daughter that was having her name day or birthday, right?
I wouldn't specifically say half the cake, but he did leave cake and a candle for the
And a
one child.
candle. And did he hand that to his wife?
I don't recall.
He may have given it to her to bring into the house?
No, I believe that was given to the children to bring into the house.
It was given to the children, okay.
He just mentioned that it was there for her.
He mentioned to the wife that he was going to give that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you did note in your report that Mr. Dulos helped some of the children pack up and put stuff away, the food and the cake, right?
Yes.
Could you just describe what he did?
Put the utensils together, anything that was trash, put that all in a bag.
And where did all that go?
The children brought it into the home.
Into the house?
Yes.
Okay. Was the door open the whole time, or was there a door that somebody had to open and close to get in?
A door someone had to open and close.
Was basketball played again after the dinner?
Yes.
Did Mr. Dulos participate at all at that point?
Yes, towards the end.
He took a phone call at one point, though, didn't he?
Yes.
But he took that away from the children, isn't that true?
No.
He did that while in front of the children?
Yes.
Okay. Before he left, did you observe whether there was any physical interaction between him and his children before he finished the visit?
Yes.
They hugged?
Yes.
He kissed his
the
children?
girls.
And they hugged and kissed him?
Yes.
We've heard about salad 3 times now. Oh my gosh.
Just have a moment.
This judge. No.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank God.
Just briefly, Your Honor, if I may. Mr. Trudeau, do you recall a lot of questions regarding Fotis Dulos' interactions primarily with Jennifer? You recall Attorney Schohorn asking you about their interactions?
Yes.
Okay. And you, I think, indicated that they were friendly with each other?
Yes.
In fact, Mr. Dulos was complimentary of her that day, wasn't he?
Yes.
And he indicated that he was, stated, let's see, it was nice hoop with the basketball, and it was very, I guess, approving of things that she's done. Would you say that?
In regards to the basketball hoop, yes.
And he, gave her candy, asked her if he can eat there instead of eating out of the car. Would you say that interaction was very friendly as well?
Yes.
And were you aware that he actually arrived an hour early?
Objection. Hearsay.
It's in the report, Your Honor. I'm actually just reading off of counsel's report.
All right. I withdraw the objection.
Yes, I was aware.
And then he left, though, and came back. Is that right?
Yes.
And so he wasn't on the property when you weren't there, at least to your knowledge?
Except for when he showed up at 3:30.
Okay. And you weren't there at 3:30, though?
I was
were you?
not.
Okay, so you didn't see that?
I did not.
Now, even later when they were having cake, and the counsel directed you to page 2, the bottom half of your statement, in the conversation about the cake and he left, he even offered Jennifer half the cake for the child. And would you say that interaction was very friendly as well?
Yes.
Okay. And most of these interactions were instituted by Mr. Fotis Dulos, right?
Yes.
Where he would offer a chocolate bunny, or he would offer the cake, and he would offer the advice on the basketball hoop to Jennifer Dulos. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So that day, on May 22nd, Wednesday, when he arrived, he was, every interaction that he instituted with Miss Jennifer Farber Dulos, he was very friendly with her. Is that correct? Thank you. Nothing further.
You just indicated you were told that he had arrived early for his visit with the kids, correct?
Yes.
But you also knew that he had left because he was early, right?
Yes.
But you also knew that there had been amicable, friendly visitations just prior to that, correct?
Yes.
No further questions.
Nothing further. Thank you.
Mr. Streeter, you may step down. Ladies and gentlemen, we will stand in our morning recess until 11:40. Please do not discuss the case.
That she prepared for her testimony, which the state didn't previously have, so they provide to me. I may need a break before I do my cross-examination. I don't know if the state's going to go till 1, and I'll try and use the lunch time to go through it. I'm just indicating to the court this is something I don't think Mr. McGinnis knew.
Now, is this technical testimony?
It is, Judge. So I spoke with Ms. Roy this morning. She brought sort of her own sort of handwritten notes or what have you for these types of things. She's a professional witness. She's been doing this for a long time. She just wants it with her on the stand so that if she needs to refresh her recollection or refer to something. I understand the counsel obviously is entitled to inspect whatever he wants, but I just note, Judge, that she is a professional witness. She's been doing this for a long time. I don't think that there's anything nefarious about these notes, in other words. So
that's not the point. The point is there might be something helpful in there that I might want to use.
Well, if if counsel can read the notes. In other words, they may not be in prose form. They may be in symbols. The court does not know.
I can say this, Your Honor. I've looked at a number of Ms. Roy's handwriting. It's certainly better than mine, and I can read it. And I'm somewhat knowledgeable about this area, having, I'm not an expert, but I've handled these type of matters before. So I might be able, just during the lunch break, to be able to bring myself up to.
So the next witness brought handwritten notes for her testimony, like things that she wanted to make notes of for the testimony, and he wants to read them because he's somewhat knowledgeable, not an expert, but he's somewhat knowledgeable in this, and there may be something in those notes that he wants to, that can help him, he says.
Speed by looking through them. I sort of know what I would be looking for and what would be unnecessary. I just want to make sure I can flip through it quickly.
Thank you. Are we ready to bring the jury in?
Yes, Judge.
Lord of mercy.
And Attorney McGinnis, before you begin to inquire, the court is just going to indicate to the witness that there are interpreters and the information is technical. So the interpreter is going to be a few words behind the witness. And as a result, we would ask the witness to speak in a moderate tempo.
Yes, sir.
Would counsel stipulate, please?
Yes, Judge.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may call your next witness.
Yes, Your Honor. The state calls Christine Roy.
Christine Roy, so she's forensics. Right now, we are on Thursday morning, day 15 morning. Hey, Ivan. Hey, Stacy.
If you could please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and spell it for the record.
Christine Roy, R-O-Y.
Okay, so again, we're getting into a technical witness, so let's skip forward. Like, we don't need to hear credentials and the process and all that. She's the one who examines for presence of, like, blood, saliva, etc. Let's get through.
The packaging, so we take photos, little rocks or pebbles, any item, how long it's been handled, all of those.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the S stood for serology, not sample. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, the thousands.
And it does get forwarded to DNA, for example.
Let's get through the process.
This case from 3
comes into the laboratory. How is it?
Do our own testing or just cut them off. So, and we have to do that test under a venting chemical hood. So even though it's more sensitive, in a similar fashion as the COVID.
That's correct, Judge.
Thank you.
Now, did you perform any confirmatory blood tests in this case?
Yes, I did.
And what items did you perform confirmatory blood tests on?
I did the glycophorin A test, which, if positive, says human blood is present on a stain that I removed from a striped shirt. And I did the glycophorin A test on a sample that I had removed from the bra. And then I did the hemotrace test on a sample of reddish brown stain that was collected off of some trace material that was I collected from a poncho.
So she did confirmatory tests on those.
Your Honor, at this time I have what has been marked as State's Exhibit 103. It is a joint stipulation between the parties. I asked to move it in and publish a portion of it.
Any objection?
No, but I just have a moment, counsel.
No.
So, Your Honor, as I indicated, this is a joint stipulation between the parties, specifically paragraph 12, and I'll just publish that to the jury. State Police Exhibit 502U, seized from Hartford by Sergeant Kevin Dugan on May 31st, 2019, and identified as one black plastic garbage bag tied in a knot containing a shirt and bra with a blood-like substance.
State, would you please slow down for the interpretation?
with a blood-like substance, Avenue and Green submission numbers available to you?
Oh, yes.
I'm skipping through this stuff. Let's get to the actual evidence. The technical stuff is not. It's so wordy. Let's just get to the actual evidence.
This states Exhibit 61, full exhibit. It's the shirt.
Thank you.
All right, this is the shirt.
Ms. Roy, can you just familiarize yourself with this exhibit? And
They think
just
Jennifer
tell the jury
Dulos
what
was
it is?
wearing.
This is marked submission 41-1 shirt, and I can see that because I wrote 41-1 shirt and my initials CMR.
And I believe you indicated that when an item comes to the laboratory, it gets its own submission number. The shirt submission number was 41-1. Is that correct?
The shirt was contained in submission 41. There was multiple items in that submission, so it was itemized as 41-1.
Right, and the item it was in was a box. Is that correct? And the box got designated as 41.
I don't recall the original packaging. I could look it up.
No, that's okay. Would you mind just opening this up? So just a document its condition.
Yes, I did.
And was there any damage to the shirt that you observed?
Yes, there was.
What type of damage?
We call it, when we see damage, we call it area of damage, because I'm not an expert in fabrics, so I don't know if it's cut or torn. So we just refer to it as a general statement as area of damage. And the area of damage that I noticed in this shirt when I received it was that there was an area of damage going from the neck opening down the front to the bottom opening of the shirt.
Would you mind just taking the shirt out of the bag and just displaying it for the jury?
That bag is so loud.
Just for the record, Judge, she's holding up what's been entered into evidence as State's Exhibit 61, and for the record, she is displaying what appears to be the front of the shirt to the jury. Is that correct, Ms. Roy?
Yes, and here's my initials on the shirt. CMR.
And do you typically initial an object if you're able to designate that you yourself worked on it?
If I'm able to, yes.
All right. And would you mind just displaying 61 to the jury and just telling us where the area of damage is?
It's right down the front there.
Okay.
And this area right here is where I took my sample. So that's not the area of damage that came with the shirt.
Okay, and just for the record, when you say this area right here, you're referring to a defect on the left side of the shirt, which appears to be a hole. Is that correct?
Correct.
And the defect was something that you did to the shirt. Is that right?
Correct. When I took my sample, I took my cutting from right there.
Okay. And when you took your cutting, what were the steps that you took with that particular cutting?
We don't need to know that.
Photographed this area. Then I photographed it where I took my cutting. I photographed the cutting, and then I photographed the portion that I was sending to DNA.
And did you eventually also do a confirmatory blood test on that particular sample?
Yes, I did the glycophorin A test, and it was positive. So therefore, I could say human blood was detected.
Okay, so
Repackaging.
all that to get to the point of human blood was detected on the shirt that they believe Jennifer was wearing that they found in those garbage bags. So she said human blood was detected and she sent it on to the lab for DNA. All right, let's get
Did
to the
you
bra.
perform any screening or confirmatory tests on this particular object?
Yes, I
This is the
tested
bra.
an area right here, which is missing. With the screening test for blood, it was positive. So then I went through the same routine I did with the shirt. I did a cutting right here and then photographed the portion that I was sending to DNA. And then later on, there was a request for a confirmatory test for blood. So I did on a small portion of the retained stain.
And just for the record, Ms. Roy, the portion that you tested, you're directing the jury to the right side of the bra. There appears to be a piece of the fabric missing. Is that the area that you're referring to?
Yes.
Okay, so again, same thing with the bra. The testing shows that it was human blood and it was sent on for DNA testing.
Thank you very much.
And it was received clipped in the back. So it was received like
I love speed trialing.
All right, this time I would just ask for permission to be able to remain seated while I display some photographs. It's just a little easier for me to see. Is that okay?
Yes.
It has been pre-marked for identification as State's Exhibit 109. It's a DVD-R labeled Christine Roy, and I would move that in as an exhibit at this time as a full exhibit. It's contingent on a certain fold. And then there's also one of the stipulation. Going to be open
to
display that now. And can you just explain to the jury?
So these are just the pictures of what we just
That's
saw.
where all pic, and then
We don't need to go through it again.
Is this the cutting that you took?
that's
These are the cuttings that she just said she took from it.
And are there any areas of damage which are noted here?
That's the bra. We obviously just talked
shows
about that too.
that shows.
And this bag was submitted with the bra and the shirt, is that correct?
That's correct.
Were any swabs taken of this bag?
Yes, I took swabbings from this bag.
And specifically, I'm going to pull up a photo of 41.31S1. Excuse me, strike that. I'm pulling up photo 41.3S2. What does this photo display?
That shows the knotted area of the bag. And so I loosened that knotted area and I tried to swab the interior of the knotted area. And I designated that swabbing 41-3S2.
And can you tell the jury why you decided to swab the knotted area?
Because the interior of it would be protected from, say, any other damage, or it would maybe have the DNA or biological material of the person that may have handled that area when they knotted it.
When you looked inside of submission 41-3, did you find anything? If you have to refer to your notes, that's
Oh, yes, yes, I did.
What did you find?
Women's panty liner.
And did you also swab the panty liner?
Yes, I did that, and I also, there was a reddish brown stain on the panty liner.
I'm pulling up photograph 41.31S1. Does this photograph display the panty liner that you found inside of the bag?
Yes, it does.
And
no, it doesn't. Side of the panty.
And new photo 41.31S2, just displaying that for the jury. How many swabbings did you take of the panty liner?
I just took one. I took the sample of the reddish brown stain.
Yeah, I don't want to see the panty liner.
Absorbent side, which I designated 41-3-1S2.
And this photograph shows the area that you swabbed, is that correct?
Correct.
And just for the jury's benefit, I'm directing their attention to the upper photograph, which shows where the additional stipulated between the parties that State Police Exhibit 12, which was identified as doorknobs from the garage mudroom door, were submitted to the state lab as submission number 4. Did you analyze that particular submission?
Yes, I examined submission 4.
And can you just tell the jury what you did with submission 4 when you received it?
The first time I saw submission 4, it was in latent prints. Sometimes we work with the latent print examiner if there's reddish brown stains on something. And in the case this item, there was a reddish brown stain with ridge-like detail on one portion of the doorknob, which was basically two knobs with the plates, and one side had screws and the other side did not. So therefore, in my notes, I refer to the side without the screws and the side with the screws. That's how I designated it. So that was the first time that I saw the doorknobs, was in latent prints.
And you mentioned latent prints. Can you tell the jury, generally speaking, if something needs to be fingerprinted and or analyzed for potential biological evidence or DNA evidence, who generally gets that exhibit first? Is it the forensic biology department or is it the latent print department?
In general, it's the forensic biology department, but we really do work closely with each other because for obvious reasons, I don't want to destroy possible useful latent print when I'm doing my examination or collection.
And did you take photographs of submission number 4?
Yes, I did.
All right, so I've opened the folder on State's Exhibit 109, designated State Police Exhibit 12, lab submission number 4. How many, did you take swabbings of this particular submission?
Yes, I collected 4 samples from submission 4.
And were they designated 41S1 through 41S4?
Yes, they were. So this submission came in as 4, and the latent print examiner, as they do, they sub-item the contents, even if there's one thing, as 4-1. So I then go off of the 4-1, S1, 4-1, S2, 4-1, S3, and 4-1, S4.
So I'm going to pull up the photo entitled Lab 4.1S1 and 1S4. directing your attention specifically to 41S1, what was that a swabbing of?
That was a reddish-brown stain with ridge-like detail, and that was on this side of the doorknob without the screws.
And we're looking at a photograph here. Would this have been the bottom right? The
Correct.
bottom right photograph here?
Yes, correct.
And what was swabbing 41S4 of?
It was a swabbing of that reddish-brown stain with ridge-like detail.
And is the area that you swabbed displayed in the upper right photograph here?
That's a different sample that I took.
41S4?
Yes.
Okay, what was that of?
That was a swabbing of the knob and the plate. That was for a touch-like sample. I didn't see any reddish-brown staining there, but I wanted to swab up any biological material that might be there. So I collected a swabbing, which again is you moisten a swab, a sterile swab, and then you swab that area.
Yeah, just to be clear, anytime you did a swabbing in this case, you followed that same process. Is that fair to say?
That's correct.
Okay. And I'm just displaying a photograph entitled Lab 41S1, 41S2. What was swabbing 41S2 of?
That was where I saw ridge-like detail, but I didn't see any blood or blood-like stain, reddish-brown stain.
So again, you're attempting to get perhaps touch DNA or trace DNA?
Yes, touch DNA.
And 41S3, what was that a swabbing of?
So that's the side of the doorknob with the screws, and that's a touch type sample that was collected from the knob and the plate. So that's 4-1S3.
And was that particular swabbing, or the area that you swabbed, captured in the upper left photograph here?
Yes, it is.
And just one more photo, 41S3, 41S4. What do these photographs show?
That shows the doorknobs after I collected the touch samples from, which were 4-1S3 and 4-1S4. And then the bottom photo shows that the left side has the screws, the right side doesn't have the screws, and then where I put my initials.
And to be clear, all of these swabbings were subsequently forwarded to the DNA unit, is that correct?
That's correct.
And I believe Krista Maydell was working on this case at the time, is that right?
Yes, she was.
Your Honor, I'm just going to publish another stipulation between the parties.
Yes,
Again,
if you
this
could read
is
slowly, please.
Yes, sir. This is from State's Exhibit 103, paragraph 13. State Police Exhibit 154, seized from Hartford by Sergeant Michael Butin on May 31st, 2019, and identified as one FedEx envelope, color white, containing 2 altered Connecticut license plates seized from the scene, storm drain at 1344 Albany Avenue, Hartford, Connecticut, was subsequently submitted to the Division of Scientific Services and designated as submission number 96.
All right, so now
Ms. Roy, did you analyze submission number 96?
Yes, I did.
I'm going to open the folder entitled State Police Exhibit 154, Submission 96 from that same DVD. Can you indicate to the jury what condition you received Submission 96 in?
You mean the appearance that I saw it?
Well, it was has been stipulated that it was 2 altered Connecticut license plates, and I was just wondering if you could explain to the jury what you observed when you first received the plates.
I could see that there was some tape layers on 3 of the letters on the license plate, and so therefore it was referred to as being altered.
And did you take swabbings of these license plates?
Yes, I did.
And these license plates were subsequently designated as 96-1 and 96-2 because there were 2 of them. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. So I'm displaying a photograph now entitled Lab 96 1S1.
It is so
Were these the plates? Strike that. Do the plates in this photograph show the plates as you initially received them?
Yes, there's 2 photographs that show the plate as I received it. And you can see there's 2 little arrows that says as REC''D. So that would be the upper right one and the lower left one, is how the plate appeared when I received it.
And did you remove the adhesive from the license plate yourself?
Yes, I did.
And after you removed the adhesive from the license plate, what did you do?
I then swabbed those areas of the plate, which were then uncovered by the removal of the multiple layers of tape.
And why did you take those particular swabbings?
Well, as you can see, the plates are very dirty, and so I was hoping that those areas might be protected, and therefore I was collecting any biological material or touch DNA sample that might be there.
And in the photograph on the right, we see what appears to be some markings, circular markings, on top of the 1 in the middle of the D and connected to the J. Are those the areas that you swabbed?
Yes, it is. Yes, they are.
And were all of those areas that you swabbed designated as 96-1S1?
Yes.
And now I'm going to display Lab 96-1S2 photograph. What are we looking at here?
That's still 96-1. That's looking at the tape that I removed from the 3 areas. There's multiple layers of blue tape with some glue-like substance on them. So I separated the pieces of tape, and then I swabbed both sides of the pieces of tape.
Did you observe any substances on the tape, such as a blood-like substance or anything like that?
No, I did not.
So you were essentially swabbing for touch DNA?
Yes, correct. That was a sample for touch DNA.
And then with respect to the second license plate, Lab 96-2, you also swabbed that license plate, is that correct?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me.
Yes.
And this is item number 96-2S1, is that correct? And did you go through the same process for this particular license plate in that you removed the adhesive and swabbed the area around the adhesive?
I removed the tape, and then I swabbed underneath where I had removed the tape on the license plate.
Similar to what you had done with the previous plate, is that correct?
That's correct.
And
Jackie, thank you for the
now displaying photograph Lab 96-2S2. This was the tape that you removed from the second license plate?
Yes, it is.
And did you also swab this for potential DNA evidence?
Yes, I separated the layers of blue tape with glue-like substance, and then I swabbed both sides of the tape.
All right, we have another
Sounds like the
stipulation here in
last
State's Exhibit 104 regarding evidence seized from the Toyota Tacoma and submitted to the Division of Scientific Services. I move it into evidence.
No objection?
It's signed and stipulated, so no objection.
And specifically, I'm going to publish paragraph 5 of that stipulation, Your Honor. State Police Exhibit 323, seized from the Toyota Tacoma by Detective Matthew Riley on June 6, 2019, and identified as 1 Connecticut registration plate 6617CN with 2 screws, CA/DP, processed, seized from the scene, dash front, was subsequently submitted to the Division of Scientific Services and designated as submission number 97. Ms. Roy, did you also perform analysis on submission 97?
Yes, I did.
And I'm going to open the folder entitled State Police Exhibit 323, Lab Submission 97, and display a photo of Lab 97-1S1. Can you just indicate for the jury what we're looking at here?
The front and back of the license plate, and then around the perimeter of the edge, where you can see the outline with, I think it's blue outline, and that's where I collected the touch sample 97-1S1.
Did you observe any biological material on this particular license plate?
No, I didn't.
And so essentially you again are searching for perhaps touch DNA?
Yes.
And the second license plate was designated as 97-2, is that correct?
That's correct.
And did you also take a swabbing of that license plate for touch DNA?
Yes, I did.
Excuse me. I apologize. This is 97-2S1. What are these?
Those are the screws that were also included from the submission 97. There was an envelope with 2 screws, and I also swabbed the screws, and the swabbing of the screws was designated 97-2S1. There was also 2 screws submitted with 97-1, and I swabbed those. They were designated 96-2, and I swabbed those as 96-2S1.
I believe, and I know it can be confusing, submission number 96 was the license plates from the sewer drain in Hartford. This is from a Toyota Tacoma.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. There's a lot.
Yes. So could we go back to that picture that you're showing right there?
Yes.
That you were showing?
Yes. This is photograph Lab 97-2S1. So this was specifically State Police Exhibit 323.
Okay, so there was, in that submission, there was the license plate, and then there was a coin envelope with 2 screws and washers on those screws. And those washer-screw combination were designated 97-2. And I took a swabbing of those for touch DNA, and that was designated 97-2S1.
And again, you didn't observe any biological material on these screws?
No, I did not.
I'm going to read from Stipulation State's Exhibit.
She tested those screws because remember that was part of the theory, is that he he put those fake license plates or those altered license plates on the Tacoma while he was driving down there. So to do that, you know, that he would have had to touch those screws. So she tested those for DNA as well.
104. Paragraph 7.
Talking about all the things that she
State Police
swabbed.
Exhibit 325, seized from the Toyota Tacoma by Detective Matthew Riley on June 6, 2019, and identified as one Connecticut registration plate, BRN6617CN, with 2 screws, CA/DP process, seized from the scene, /rear, was subsequently submitted to the Division of Scientific Services and designated as Submission 98. You also worked on a second license plate from the Tacoma, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
And that was designated as Submission 98?
That's correct.
And I'm just going to open that folder, State Police Exhibit 325, Lab Submission 98, and specifically display a photograph, Lab 98 1S1. Did you essentially go through the same process for Submission 98 that you did for Submission 97?
Yes, I did.
You did not view any biological material on these Tacoma plates. You simply swabbed them for potential touch DNA?
That's correct.
And I'm just going to quickly display 98 2S1. These were the screws that came with what's been stipulated to be the rear plate, is that correct?
Correct.
And you swabbed those as well for potential touch DNA?
Yes, I did.
So
State's
she's
Exhibit
just going
104,
through
the stipulation.
the things that she
Paragraph
swabbed.
9, State Police
We're not getting
and identified
what
as
came from
dated
them
as
yet.
Submission 99. Do you recall? Sorry.
I'm skipping forward through some of this. I'm running out
Rear
of
of the
energy.
door panel. And I designated all the areas that I swabbed. Now, this doesn't show that I took apart the door panel. So I removed several of the pieces that I could from the door panel and collected those swabbings.
Now, specifically with respect to these swabbings, unlike maybe some of the previous samples that we've looked at, did you test any of these, did you perform screening tests on any of these swabbings for blood?
Yes, I did.
All right. And I want to just, if you need to refer to your report, that is perfectly fine. I'm actually going to just hand you for identification purposes, states 106, 107, and 108.
Could I please note which ones they are on my copy, please? Thank you.
Refer to a specific report that you offered here, New York.
Okay, thank you.
That you noted the areas that you swabbed, and there's a lot here. So I want to just begin with S1 and S2, which we see in the center left of the photograph. What area was that you swabbed?
There was switches there, and I removed that panel that the switches are on, and then I removed the actual switches from the panel.
And why did you swab those particular areas?
I had information that this door was shown to be positive luminol. So what I wanted to test was whether any of those swabbings would have a positive result with the screening test for blood.
Now, as I understand it, luminol can test positive on a number of different materials. Is that correct? Or a number of different materials can give a positive luminol test?
I have very limited experience with luminol. We don't use it in the laboratory. It's a crime scene screening test for blood. There are things that do react, such as cleaning products.
Now, did you observe yourself any blood-like substances or biological materials on this particular door?
No, I didn't see any reddish brown stains.
Okay. And then specifically, I'm just going to direct your attention now to S3, which appears to be a storage area on the door where things could be sort of inserted in. Did you swab that particular area?
Yes, I did. I swabbed the opening of that pocket. And that was designated S3.
Pocket, better word. And S4, what area was that?
Okay, I called that a grill. Maybe I should have called it a speaker, but to me, I called it a grill. So the grill and the pocket I actually was able to remove. And so S4 is on the panel itself, the opening of that grill, which I had removed. So I went around the edge, the opening, and swabbed that area.
And S5 is near the center of the door, near what appears to be a piece of carpeting near the door or on the door handle. Is that correct?
That's I call that a fabric panel. And what I did was I pulled up the edge of the fabric panel, and then I went around the edge and swabbed the edge of the fabric panel.
With respect to swabs 1 through 5, or 99, S1 through S5, what screening test did you do on those?
I did the O-toluidine test, which again is the more sensitive of the screening tests. And the information I had was that this door may have been cleaned. So knowing that, I wanted to use the more sensitive test.
And
well, Attorney McGinnis, it's about 1 o'clock.
Yes, Judge.
What we will do is just stand in our luncheon recess. Does counsel need a little more time after the luncheon recess in order to review the notes?
Perhaps.
So what we will do, ladies
made it. We made it. Good timing. I am running out of energy. So, good time for it to end now. This is perfect timing. So we made it through day 14, which was Wednesday, and we made it through the first half of day 15. So, tomorrow, the plan is to do the second half of day 15, and then those first couple hours from yesterday, because yesterday they only did this for a couple hours. They had a very short day yesterday. So that's the plan for tomorrow. I'm going to start I did 10:30 Central today. I'm going to do 11 Central tomorrow. Give an extra half hour on Sunday morning. But it'll be a short stream since we only have not even a full day when you add up both. Not even a full day testimony. So we'll do speed trial tomorrow. I'm going to, I've got our stream for today redirected to send you into tomorrow. So when you go into tomorrow, hit notify me, and it will notify you tomorrow when we go live. I love all the hearts. I love all the hearts. I am so glad that I got to hang out with y'all today. Thank you so much for being patient with me this week. It's been a week. It has been a week. So, I am so thankful that I didn't know how it would go with us streaming on a Saturday, on a weekend, but I'm glad y'all showed up. I enjoy watching this with y'all. All right, Marie Moss, our official statistician, 4 witnesses, 28 objections, 101 rights, and a whole lot of BS. That's hilarious. That's awesome. Marie Moss, thank you so much. Thank you for our official statistician, or for our official stats from our official statistician. Thank you. I'm going to go lay down and read my book until I fall asleep. Oh, I've been reading a really good book. We need to do a book club stream like once a month or something. Maybe we'll do like a members only book club. There goes Sea Screamer. That means the season's getting ready to start, because Sea Screamer's a boat that does tours through here. And if y'all ever saw me last year, like when the cannon would shoot in front of my condo and I would jump, it's because Sea Screamer shoots the cannon in front of different condos every day. And I see Sea Screamer boat going along the water right now, which means winter's almost over. That's what that means. And they have they're putting the tiki huts back out today too. I saw that. I was laying on the couch. Okay, you can tell I haven't taken my ADD medication. I started off talking about books, and then cannons, and then boats, and then tiki huts. The book that I'm reading is called All the Light We Cannot See, or All the Light You Cannot See. It is so good. It is so good. I've been reading it during my treatments during the every morning, and I'm down to like the last 100 pages. And I was going to try to keep it to finish during treatment next week, but I really want to see the end of it, or read the end of it, because it's getting so good. So I've been reading it, but it's called All the Light You Cannot See, and it is so good. It's a Pulitzer Prize winner, so I was like, I'll give it a try. Normally anything that's like Pulitzer Prize or anything like that, like I always want to try to give it a shot, because those are really good. Hold on, let me see. Let me see. I don't remember who the author is. Let me see. Okay. It is Anthony Doerr? It is so good. It is so good. Everybody's big on book club. Yeah, maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll start that. Like we'll pick a book and we'll do a members only. Because I've been wanting to do like some kind of members only thing anyway that doesn't involve true crime, just so we can hang out. But this is it. All the Light We Cannot See. And it has been so... There's a Netflix... There's a Netflix series. Which... That's what I'm going to be doing when I finish it. Is it good? Have you seen it? What's it about? It is, let me tell you, it is so good. It is. You can see this is how much I got left. It is so good. I'm on page 458 and it goes to like 530, I think. So it takes place during World War II, and it's this blind French girl. She's like, I mean, depends on the part of the book. She's anywhere from, you know, like young girl up to like 16 when the, you know, like big part of the book has taken place or whatever. And she's blind. She lives with her dad, and they're going through the war stuff. Like her dad works at a museum, and he's single parent. Her mom's not. Anyway, I won't give too much away. Anyway, and then there's also, so she's one part of it, and then the other part of it is a boy who's about 2 years older than her, and he's a German boy. He's an orphan, and he is, as he's growing, he's, you're seeing, like, as it's like leading up to the war and then during the war, you're seeing it from both of their perspectives. And, you know, the struggles that she goes through being, you know, a young, you know, blind girl going through war, and then the struggles that he's going through as, you know, a young German boy, like, you know, with all the stuff going on in Germany, and like him not agreeing with it, but, you know, feeling obligated to go through it and stuff, like, you know, like keep up with the pack and stuff like that, like but his struggles with it and stuff, like it's really good. It's really good. So, it's a 4-episode limited series on Netflix. See, I'm gonna have to watch that. Maybe I'll finish reading this tonight and then watch that tomorrow when we finish our stream. So that'll be perfect. But it's so good. It's so good. All the Light We Cannot See. I recommend it. And I haven't even finished it yet. Less than 500 pages. Or I mean, less than 100 pages left. All right, y'all. I am going to... I've got it set up to where it redirects you till tomorrow. So hit notify me for tomorrow's stream so that you don't miss out. Tomorrow's going to be a pretty short stream as well. That's the perk of speed trialing and getting to do some of these, you know, we had 2 short days this week on the stuff that we missed, so it worked out perfect. So I've got it set for 11 o'clock Central tomorrow, 12 o'clock Eastern. So I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. I'm really glad that I got to hang out with y'all this weekend. It means more to me than you realize. So I appreciate you all, and I will see you tomorrow, 12 Eastern, 11 Central.
I gotta go. I can't stick around here forever.
Everybody was wonderful. Everybody behaved. Everybody's always so nice to me.
Just love your channel and
Good morning.